Good afternoon. I'll call the meeting to order. I'd like to begin by acknowledging that we're in Treaty 1 territory and the traditional homeland of the Métis Nation. I'll introduce the members of the panel. To my far left is Ms. Tracy Henderson. My immediate left is Ms. Lynn Nesbitt. My name is Stu McPherson. I'll be chairing the hearing today. Representing the City of Winnipeg Assessment Taxation Department is Mr. Jonathan Belinsky, and the recording secretary is Ms. Kelsey Harrison. Excuse me. We'll be hearing applications for the revision of the assessment roll in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act. The matters for which revision is requested has been described in each application. We'll limit discussion to those matters. The statements that applicants or the assessor make at this hearing are sworn testimony. Anyone speaking to the matters must be sworn in. Please be advised that comparisons of assessments of properties are not considered evidence of market value by the Board of Revision. The Board of Revision is appointed annually by Council. It's independent of it and the City Administration. It makes its decisions on the basis of the evidence provided at this hearing and issues a written order that will be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the Board's decision with respect to an application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification, or to the Court of Queen's Bench if the matter pertains to the application of exemptions from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included with the Board's order. With respect to the hearing process, I'll confirm the matters to be addressed with each applicant following the swearing in. We'll then have the assessor's testimony followed by questions the applicant may have, then the applicant's testimony followed by questions. Each side will have an opportunity to summarize if they so wish. Once all the evidence about an application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave and the process will repeat for each item on the docket today. The session will close after all the applications have been heard and the Board will deliberate in private and make its decisions. You'll receive the order by registered mail as soon as possible. And just as information, all public hearings are live streamed, recorded, and will be part of the public record. Let me swear the parties in, please. If you do have a cell phone, please put that on silent.
That's me. Do you swear in? Or swear in? Could you please state your name?
Jonathan Jesse Belinsky.
And do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you. Swear in?
Jared Surrey.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Afternoon, Mr. Story.
Yeah.
You're representing the owners for 10 properties today. That's the amount of assessed value only we're dealing with?
That's correct.
Thank you. We'll just deal with the properties as they're listed on the docket today. So the first property will be 2737 Pembina. When you're ready, Mr. Assessor, we'll hear from you, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. File number 19-2136, roll number 0306142830. The address is 2737 Pembina Highway. The nature of business for this property is a vehicle service garage. Zoning C2, the land area is 31,831 square feet. And the leasable area is 6,397 square feet. Our recommendation is to confirm the assessed value. This property we have valued on land. So turning to page 5, please. We have the land valuation breakdown for the subject. So the second chart here under land valuation shows the area of 31,831 square feet, and the net rate per square foot comes to $37.26, and this gets us to the assessed value of $1,186,000. And to justify this value, I brought in 4 land sale comparables. As we can see here from the 4 comparables, the older ones at the top 2, the first 2 from 2012 and 2013, come in lower at $9.92 and $11.16. We also have an older sale on the 11th of October 2012 for comparable 3 at $48.75. And then we can see our newest sale here at comparable 4, located at 2525 Pembina Highway, very close to the subject property. C2 zoning came in at $67.04. So we can kind of see what the market is doing for this area in terms of land sales. And that is my brief. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Story, questions for the assessor?
Yes, I do. Thank you. Okay, now, excuse me. Are you aware that the previous value on this property was $919,000?
It sounds right.
Okay, so this increase would constitute, was that a 30% increase, perhaps, or so? Now that seems a large increase for a property of this, with this current use. But yeah, I guess you're going to land value. So did you perform a highest and best use analysis in order to determine that the value is in the land as opposed to the going concern of the business?
I did not.
You did not. Okay. Do you have any photos of the property in this brief?
I don't have
Have you looked at this property?
it. Not physically, just on the computer.
Okay. So you have seen the property. Okay. And how would you describe the shape of the parcel? Would you say it's regular or irregular?
I'm pretty sure it's irregular.
Okay, so it's more of a trapezoid, so to
Yeah.
speak? Okay. Now, just back to my highest and best use question. When you're coming to land value only, we're saying that redevelopment is the best, is the most maximum productive way to treat this property going forward, correct?
Yeah.
But you're aware that in this neighborhood, we've got Fountain Tire right across the street, we have a Goodyear, we have a Speedy Glass, and then we have Fawcett Auto right next door. Are you aware of that?
Yes.
So it would appear that the conglomeration of vehicle service related enterprises are thriving in this section. So perhaps the highest and best use is it's currently a Midas store, as well as could best be described as a small engine repair at the back part of the parcel, correct?
It's possible.
Okay. And you're aware that this property backs onto a rail line?
Yes.
Okay, and what are the mandatory setbacks set forth by the Canadian Rail Guide for developing next to a rail line?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Is it safe to say that there are mandatory setbacks from the rail line, also side setbacks in this parcel?
Typically there would be, yes.
Okay, so the development potential would be hindered by all those regulations that would require that you can't build out 100% of this property, and because of the rail line, it would further impede what you were able to develop there, correct?
If there are setbacks like that, yes.
Okay. All right. Now, you've done the cost valuation summary. Have you provided any inputs for how you're supporting these numbers? Are there any calculations that we can review?
It is all model driven.
So this isn't done by Marshall and Swift, the cost valuation summary?
Yes. Just it's automatically updated on our computer.
Okay. All right. That's fine. All right. Now, see, I'm of the opinion that this is the values and the occupancy and the going concern. But let's talk about your land sales. Did you choose these land sale comps, or were these automatically generated?
I chose these.
Okay. And did you choose them based on similarity in terms of development potential or geography?
Location.
Okay.
And size.
And size?
Yeah.
Okay. These are, okay, so we've got 31,000 square feet, so that's just over half an acre. These are mostly larger. Okay, that's fine. Now, I can't help but notice we've got a range, call it anywhere from $10 to $70 a square foot. Does that not strike you as a bit odd?
Basically, I took all the sales that have occurred in this area in the past 8 years or so.
And then you just
6 years.
averaged it out and taken that middle. But we have land that we can see sold for, $10, $11 a square foot, but then some that sold for $67 a square foot.
Yeah, like I said in my presentation, the older sales show a trend that was a little bit lower, and our newest sale here shows that we're a little bit higher now.
And would you say that the value of, I should say this, would you say that the price that a purchaser is willing to pay for vacant land is based on the development potential?
Typically, yeah.
Typically. Okay. So, are you aware of what's been developed on these sites in your comps?
No.
Okay, so you're not aware that the first one is a large independent living complex?
Yeah, from the zoning, I can see that it would be.
And the second one is a condo development?
Okay.
And the third one, that's the site of the old Montcalm Hotel, correct?
I'm not sure.
Okay, that's now the Moco condos. And then number 4, 2525 Pembina, that's in Fairfield Park, so that's the corner of Bison Drive and Pembina, so that would presumably serve the university?
I would assume so.
Okay, so is it safe to say then, with all that being known, that perhaps these land sale comps are superior in terms of utility development potential to our subject?
Similar area, similar size. I would assume that with C2 zoning, you could do all these things as well on the subject.
But you haven't taken into account the mandatory setbacks, and then the rail line, and then also that we're talking about a strip of Pembina that's largely a vehicle service road. Okay, those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Anderson, questions?
I have no questions.
Ms. Nesbitt?
So can you explain to me why did you use the land value?
That's how it was. That's how it was valued within our department when the reassessment happened.
So it's always been valued this way?
Not always. It's been income in the past. This valuation we're at that.
So you changed your valuation method for this cycle?
Yes.
Okay. Is that a policy decision with the department? Did they do that for many properties? Or?
It's based on comparables, highest and best use. So,
okay, thank you. Any questions?
So there was an income stream developed on this property
I
and
believe
it defaulted?
I believe there was at one point. I'm not sure exactly when, but it defaulted to. It was for this cycle. It's lines.
Okay. Mr. Story, will you return, please?
Thank you very much. Okay, 2737 Pembina Highway. Now, again, we've, as the department has in the past, and as we've done in the past, we are evaluating this on the going concern of the business, the 2 income streams in place. This is a Midas auto vehicle-related Midas outlet. That's at the front of the parcel. And at the very back, we have a specialty small engine type repair person. So they do mostly boats and snowboarders, from what I understand. The improvements are built in 1979. Rentable area is 6,531. Site area is 31,831. The department is suggesting an assessment of $1,186,000. We are saying that an assessment of $983,000 is appropriate. And again, the last cycle is 919, so that seems to make sense. If you come to page 3 with me, please, and have a look at this piece of land in question. You can see that we're right at basically the corner of Greencrest and Pembina. Now at the back, you can see the fellow who's got boats on the lot. Very little visibility from the main street, and behind the specialty where the boats are, you can see the rail line that passes through. So. Let's see, so we have 2 distinct buildings. The first building was constructed in 1979. It's masonry wall construction, total plan and gross floor area of 3,500 square feet, and the reported wall height is 14 feet. The second building is at the rear of the site, also built in 79. It's wood frame construction, plan area of 2,866 square feet, and a roughly 1,700 square foot basement. And 12 foot walls. So, and again, the building at the rear of the site has no real visibility, and the condition, the present physical condition, would be fair to for. So the subject is a parallelogram in shape, so it's not a, it would be considered an irregular shape. And again, total site size is 31,831 square feet. Page 4 shows you just different aerial views. You get a sense of the Midas up front and the specialty repair, engine repair shop at the back. We can see the rail line, and then on the top photo, you can see just above the subject. That's another auto dealership. There's auto vehicle service related enterprises just throughout the area. So we've used the income approach. Again, we've used the rentable area of 6,531 square feet, which is reported by the owner. Come to page 8 with me, please. I can show you the leases that are in place. Midas is paying $19.50 a square foot, with all craft mechanical at $5 per square foot. Those are leases that run from November of 14 to October of 19, so they're leases in place at the reference date. So the total gross potential rent on the net basis is $83,855, or $12.84 per square foot. For the purposes of this report, we're using a 4% vacancy allowance. The city is suggesting a shortfall rate of $4.50. And we are accepting that as a reasonable shortfall rate for the purposes of this valuation exercise. We continue to apply our 7% of effective market income for as a 5% unrecoverable expense that constitutes an erosion of the income, as well as a 2% structural fee. Excuse me. So in the last cycle, we used the 7.5 cap to the entirety of the property. I believe, again, the assessment form has used a land approach, but I believe that, we'll see this a number of times today, that occasionally we'll see two different cap rates on the different income streams. We generally, if two enterprises make up one economic unit, we'll use one cap rate that seems the most appropriate. So we have continued on with last cycle's 7.5 cap. We've not seen compression in the market, so 7.5 seems reasonable. Now, with all those factors taken into consideration, on page 9, I've included my income summary, and you can see that we come to a total value of $982,536, and we would suggest to this board that the assessment for this 2020 realty cycle not exceed $983,000. In my appendices, I've included more photos, just to get a sense of the enterprises that are operating here. And I should mention too, I forgot my questions, but the assessment department has claimed the land value is the highest and best use, but it's not provided a downward adjustment for demolition, nor have they considered potential contamination based on the history of the site as a vehicle service-related enterprise for many years. So again, we would propose the value of $983,000 for this cycle. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Galinsky, questions for the applicant?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Do you have any comparables to justify your valuation?
We are doing a site-specific analysis as is the purpose of this exercise today. So that's the rent in place. That rent in place is most typical of market, so we've used the actual rent in place as opposed to a model rent.
Great, thank you. So, speaking to your rent in place for your second unit, all craft mechanical.
Yes.
You're showing a $5 net market rent.
That's correct. That is a low quality structure, no visibility, and obviously there's an agreement that to access that parcel you have to pass over the Midas site. So $5 for a small shop like this is reasonable.
Do you think the highest and best use for a property on Pembina to be receiving $5 rent for a vehicle service garage?
That's a very low rent, but then if we're talking about highest and best use, perhaps this parcel could be redeveloped with a higher quality improvement improvement. But the issue is the way that this trapezoidal irregular parcel is set up. It's long and skinny, so you'd have a hard time having two enterprises here with visibility from Pembina. So this is how they've oriented the site, and I certainly don't think it's $40, $50, or $35 a square foot in terms of redevelopment.
So you mentioned redevelopment, so you're saying that's probably a good option for this?
No, I'm saying it's not. I think, for the building, I'm saying the current building, Allcraft, isn't objectively, we say fair, but it would not be there would not be a huge amount of market desirability, and that's reflected in the rent.
Thank you. No further questions.
Ms. Anderson?
I have a question.
Ms. Nesbitt?
I have a question.
Just clarification, what you stated, well, first of all, you said it was about a half acre, it's actually closer to 3/4 of an acre.
Okay, that's right, yeah.
But on page 3 is your aerial, and you were talking about you need a certain setback requirement.
Yeah.
If I look at that building at the rear, it's pretty close to the...
It's from 1979, though. And the issue now that we're having with the rail guide is that there's some concerns about what the next rules will be. There's been some changes regarding effectively whether we have pipelines or not. We're going to have oil on rails, and that will eventually affect how far back the mandatory setbacks will be for the rail lines.
So this, you're speculating that it will change. It hasn't changed.
I'm saying that if you were to redevelop this site,
right,
that this would have been grandfathered. This is a legally non-permissible use at this point. The current regulations, as far as I'm aware, are 35 feet from the property line. Now, presumably, the new rail guidelines we've been waiting for a couple of years for now. I would imagine that they will be either the same or more stringent, based on the realities of potentially moving oil through Canadian cities. Yeah.
And what's the depth of this lot?
The depth of that one? I'm not sure. I didn't do I did the income analysis of it, so I didn't measure it that way.
And your cap rate of 7.5%, where is that?
We've used that cap rate in the past. That's the cap rate that's been accepted in the past, so we've stayed true to that. We don't see any cap rate compression from Q1 16 to Q1 18. And given the age, some of the issues, I mean, clearly we are on a rail line. We've got a very irregular setup here with one of the tenants having zero visibility. 7.5 seems reasonable from that perspective.
I thank you. Any desire for summation, Mr. Dolsky?
No, thank you.
Mr. Story? Thank you. Next, we'll deal with 3425 Wildwood. When you're ready, Mr. Assessor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. File number 19-4089, roll number 01000929200. The address is 3425 Roslyn Boulevard. We had a Red River Co-op. Parcel use, vehicle service related, zoning C2, land area 105,608, and leasable area 5,649 square feet. Our recommendation is to change the assessed value to $3,028,000. This, I'll go over the change in assessment. We'll just look at the pictures here first. Page number 2, we have an overhead view of the subject. The car wash is on the left, the store kiosk is in the middle, and the pumps are at the bottom of the picture. Turning to page 3 is the location on the top of where it is located, on the west end of the city. And then turning to page 4, please, is the income stream breakdown for the car wash. We have it model driven, valued at $11.09, vacancy at 2%, expenses at 2%, cap rate at 5.4%. Turning to page 5, the income stream breakdown for the store, kiosk, with pumps portion comes in at $33.55. Vacancy at 2%, expenses at 2%, and cap rate at 6.15. You can see here under additional building value, third line from the bottom. The old valuation was $1,006,000 for our pumps and canopies and tanks, and this is found on page 7. There was edits done to the depreciation tables. So if we turn to page 7, I can explain. So the areas highlighted in yellow is what's added to the income stream. So the change now comes to, valuation comes to $930,000. So back to page 5, instead of that $1,006,000, it is now $930,000. That's the explanation for the new valuation. Turning to page 8, our comparables for both the SKP portion and the car wash portion. So the second column from the right, where it says SKP net rent, is the comparables for our SKP. The subject is coming in at $33.55.
Sorry to interrupt, would you explain what an SKP is, please?
Yeah, for sure. SKP means store, kiosk, and pump.
Thank you.
So we can see we have a lot of examples throughout the city. I don't really need to point to anything specific, but as you can see, we are low on our valuation. And then the last column on the right, VCW means vehicle car wash, and we have numbers in the 1050 range, low at 772 and our high at 1451. And for comparison, our subject is at $11.09. Just to go over it one time, turn to page 14, please. Justification for our new rates for management expense, or I should say non-recoverable expense allowance. Page 14, for 2020, we're doing a general, we did a general reassessment. With this new assessment period, it has altered the approach to the non-recoverable expense allowance for commercial industrial properties than what we've seen in previous cycles. So if we turn to page 16, more explanation on this. So for this cycle, our department has analyzed income and expense information reported by property owners to derive model-generated estimates of net operating incomes. In deriving these NOIs, ATD has allowed for non-recoverable expenses in 2 categories. These 2 categories are a general 2% non-recoverable expense allowance and a shortfall allowance per square foot to account for non-recoverable expenses associated with vacant space. The table at the middle of the page here is some examples for this, and that is my brief.
Thank you. Mr. Story, questions for you?
I do, yes. And I have some questions here that we'll carry forward if that's all right with the board, for all the pertinent properties, gas stations with pumps, kiosks, car washes. Now, let's start from where you left off. Your page 16, we're talking about the non-recoverable expenses. You've provided a table here, and you've said that the city is of the opinion that non-recoverable fees are recaptured somehow by the owner. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. But are any of these vehicle related?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Do you think so? In the past, since at least the 1990s, the city of Winnipeg has applied an additional erosion to the income stream that we're calling non-recoverable fees. Correct?
In the 90s?
Well, since the 90s
Oh, okay.
up until the 2018 or 2020 cycle.
I believe so.
Okay, so the substantial change here is the city's perspective, but would you say the market has changed? Or is the market continuing to apply that erosion to the income, do you suppose?
From our analysis, we believe this 2% is capturing these expenses.
Okay, now, when we're talking about non-recoverable expenses, a large part of that, the justification of that erosion to the income stream is that over the course of the economic life of an asset, there are going to be costs borne by an owner that are not recovered. So the best example we can use are space marketing costs and commission fees, leasing commissions. Now, you'll see that throughout this docket, I've adjusted the vacancy upwards for gas bars, which at first you might think, well, how could a gas bar have vacancy? But the issue is when a gas bar goes vacant, they tend to be vacant for a long time. And when a lease is signed, they tend to be longer leases, which results in very high leasing commissions. Are you aware of that? Or would you agree with that?
Yeah, I don't know for sure, but
Okay, that's fair. Now, that's fine. So, gas stations in general are a different sort of subset of retail. Would you agree with that?
I agree.
Okay, and the one way that the mass appraisal model seems to capture them is by adding an adjustment for a depreciated cost of the canopies, tanks, and pumps, right?
Yep.
Okay. Do you think that the pumps, for example, are fixtures or chattels?
They seem to be fixtures.
They're permanent?
I guess they could be taken out, but they're not permanent.
Typically, if a gas station leaves a site, it is on them, it's contingent on them to remove those pumps, correct?
From history, from what I know from gas stations, sometimes they're removed, sometimes they're not.
They remove them and they have to do, often they have to do an environmental to check to make sure there's no leaching into the ground, there's no contamination. And if there is, then they're on the hook for remediation, correct?
From my experience, some tanks are still left in the ground, and they don't always remediate the land. It's just left as is.
So, but if they do have to remediate the land, that would be tantamount to a great deal of risk. Would you agree with that?
If it's necessary that it has to be done, oftentimes it's the next owner is stuck with it.
Okay. Okay. Now, is it safe to say that all of the elements that we're going to talk about today, the pumps, the convenience store, and the car wash, is it safe to say that those they comprise one economic unit, do they not?
Yeah, we have them all in the same row.
Right.
They're different types of buildings, so they value differently.
And do you think the market would look at those different income streams and put a different cap rate on the car wash versus the pumps versus the store? Or do you think they would just apply an overarching cap rate to the asset?
I can't speak to the market. I can speak to our department. We do different cap rates.
Okay. Now, in terms of the gas station business as a going concern, would you say that it's a high margin business or a low margin business?
I would say higher. It sells. They sell a lot of gas here.
Okay, you might be surprised then to find that the margins in a gas station are razor thin. They're extremely low, with many operators reporting that one of the biggest concerns is actually debit and credit charges. That's how low the actual margins are. So the real business of a gas station is selling the convenience products. So the high margin items like drinks and takeout food and coffee and things of that nature. The actual gas, tobacco, and lotteries are extremely low margin. So with that being said, would that, as an owner, would that give you pause or would that give you confidence?
I believe the reason why this property exists as it is because of gas sales. Maybe the margins are slight, but the volume is very high.
It is a volume business, to be certain, but
Very high.
it might be, would it be reasonable to think of it sort of like almost like a movie theater, where you have to have a huge amount of, you have a huge economic front, but you're not making money off of the admission, you're trying to sell concessions. Would it be similar in that regard?
I believe the reason why these guys can be successful as they are is because of the gas sales, not because of selling the chips and the tobacco.
Okay, okay, I would disagree with that, but that's fine, we can have a difference of opinion. Now, there are substantial risks to gas bar ownership, such as gas supply, gas prices, and those are out of the control of an individual owner. Would you agree with that?
I agree.
Okay, then I think that's basically what I'm thinking about on cap rates. Now, for this one, you've changed the assessed value based on an adjustment to the depreciation that you've done here. So I will be changing mine as well to match the change in adjustments in the assessor. I have accepted accepted your adjustment, but now that it's changed, I'd like to change mine as well. But I guess my question is, have you checked all of these files then to make sure that the depreciation is carried through and is appropriate?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. That's fair. Okay, now, so we've talked about gas bars. Now, in terms of car washes, largely concrete and steel, basically, right?
I believe so.
Yeah. And the biggest problem the concrete faces is heat, pressure, and moisture, correct?
Yeah, I believe they're built to suit the needs of a car wash.
Right, but there's a huge amount of costs and a huge amount of risk. So I'm suggesting that a 5.4 cap, which did you say that's modeled off of a standard retail?
I'm not sure the specifics, but all of the car washes in the city would be considered for that cap rate. Okay.
So it's a subset of the retail model. Is that, just so I understand, is that correct?
I don't know the specifics.
Okay. And then just to point something out, on your page 8, comp 11 is 1070 Henderson. Now you're aware that that's, I believe you're aware there was a hearing yesterday where that was pointed out that that's a co-op that's been redeveloped. So it was built in '96. It was 450 square feet, 4 double pumps, and now it's 1,685 square feet with 6 double pumps. Are you aware of that?
Yes, I believe that was mentioned.
Okay, so we can disregard that comment just for the sake of clarity. Those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Anderson?
I have no questions.
Ms. Nestor?
I have no questions.
Can you tell us something about the sale, albeit dated 2008?
Yeah, to be honest, I don't know much about the sale. I don't know what was included. It's for this roll number, so I believe...
Well, that's fine. You don't have to speculate if you
Yeah.
don't know. That's fine.
It's there for reference. I think we have strong comparables, so I don't need to speak to it.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Story, let's hear from you, please.
Thank you very much. Okay, so here we are at 3425 Robin Boulevard. We've got we're on the north side of Robin, between Princeton to the west and Hendon to the east. The subject property is best described as a gas station with a convenience store and a car wash. The improvements are 2 structures. Again, we have a car wash and a C-store. They were constructed in 2010, and the convenience store is 3,057 square feet with a 16-foot wall height and a 2,605 square foot car wash with a 14-foot wall height. The subject site is 105,608 square feet, which is roughly 2.4 acres. C2 commercial zoning. Now, it is a larger site than other similar gas bars, but the potential to subdivide the rear is hindered, if not impossible, due to the lack of access, any risk points at the site's frontage. So it is a deep lot, it's a larger lot, we're recognizing that, but it's not does not appear to be developable. Okay, so we've again used the income approach to value, starting off with a total rentable area for the purpose of this report of 5,662 square feet. We provided some rent comps. Now, these are all gas stations, leases, and we're looking at a median rent of $23 For the purpose of this report, we're using $28 per square foot. And we're using $8.40 for the car wash. Now, the assessor has mentioned that the car wash rates in the city of Winnipeg appear to be somewhere between $7 and $10. We've generally, unless otherwise noted, we've generally defaulted to $8.40, $8.50 a square foot, giving us a total gross potential rent on a net basis of $107,114, or $18.96 per square foot overall. The vacancy rate that we're using, we consider a rate of 5 to 6% reasonable in order to capitalize the vacancy into perpetuity. For the purpose of this report, we use the 5% rate. The shortfall rate that we're using is $6 per square foot. Again, we continue to apply the 5% non-recoverable and the 2% structural erosion to the income. And we haven't, I alluded to this in my question, but we are of the opinion that a potential purchaser would use one cap rate over the entirety of this property. Would not, the ownership interest is not necessarily divisible, so it would appear logical to use two different cap rates on the income stream. So we have used a 6.5% cap rate. And again, this is, we have spoken ad nauseam here about some of the challenges about owning a gas station. They're not, they fall outside the purview of standard retail, so they do deserve to be, to carry a cap rate that is higher than a standard retail enterprise. So with all those points taken together, our initial value when we applied the assessor's adjustment that was prior to being changed, we came to $2,436,000. Now, with the adjustment, I should be clear that I don't necessarily agree with the adjustment, but I know that it is, for assessment purposes, we are to add the value of the cannabis tanks and pumps. So we will defer to the cost depreciation method. So our new number with the assessor's adjustment is $2,360,000, and we ask that the board amend the 2020 assessment of this property again to $2,360,000. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Valinsky, questions for the applicant?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Story, page 8. Could you tell me which gas stations or which tenants are in these comparables?
These are a mix of, we have a mix of Essos, Petrocans, Domos, and Shells. So they're all, but again, now we're coming to a median of $23, but we have used $28. So this is not, this is just to give us a barometer of what the market is like, but we do recognize that this would likely be higher. Some of those leases are up in 18 or 19, so at the reference date, it is appropriate, I think, if not generous, to use a $28 per square foot rent. And we're not going to go too far on that. So.
Okay, thank you. So would you say that these businesses are inferior to a brand new co-op?
Would I say they're inferior? Well, I think we've established that a gas bar is a high volume destination. Location is usually based on, location would be the key factor here. I don't know that.
I guess I'm referring to, fit and finish of the convenience store portion.
Do I think that it's worth more because the convenience store portion has a higher finish?
Would the co-op finish of their convenience store portion be superior to your comparables?
I'm not sure, but I don't know if that would make a material difference in terms of assessable value.
Okay, thank you. And do you have any comparables that are in the 2010 range?
Do we have any in terms of their effective age?
Yes.
Well, the interesting thing about gas stations, I think, is that when they are branded, there's an understanding that the architectural branding or the trade dress of the brand has to be maintained. It's like a McDonald's franchisee or something like that. So in terms of the bones of these buildings, they're generally they're not built in a way that's I don't think they're generally high quality. I think that they are up to speed with the current trade dress of the enterprises that they're associated with.
Okay, thank you. And did you include any comparables for your car wash valuation of $840?
I have car washes. That's a rate that when our firm was studying the sort of called the gas station universe, we come to the same conclusion that you have, that they're somewhere between $7 and $10, but they're not. They're a particular kind of unit because you wouldn't separate them off. So we defaulted to about $8.50, which seems right in range with. We're not generally arguing the car wash rates. They're sort of, that's a modeled rate that doesn't have a lot of bearing on reality. You don't have people who are renting the car wash and then somebody else is renting the gas part. It's part and parcel. So $8.50 seems reasonable.
Thank you. No further questions.
Thank you. Ms. Anderson?
I have no questions, thank
Ms. Nesbitt?
I do. I have a couple questions on your comps, just going back to your paging.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So which one of these is a domo?
Which one of these is the Domo?
I'm just asking because domo kind of got a different retail look than the co-ops do.
Well, they're also smaller, so
yeah, they're significantly smaller.
Yeah, so it's that $25 range, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, well, yes. Sorry, I'm sort of saying that out loud. Yeah, it's that's that. That would be called 4.
Okay. Did you consider looking at other co-ops?
Yeah, we sure, and again, we're coming to a barometer of the industry of $21 to $23. We've applied $28, so we're recognizing that it is newer, it is superior to some of these comps, but it's well within the range.
So how did you pick $28 and not the assessor's $30 or whatever?
We provided an upward adjustment based on what we're finding, so it is.
But on what basis was your upward adjustment?
That would just be based on discretion.
Are there any co-ops in this selection?
Not in this study, no.
No? Okay, thank you. And it was pointed out, no car wash comps, you gave an explanation for that. So
Right, we're generally in that range. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
To your knowledge, are any of the co-ops rented, or are they all owner occupied?
I believe that they're mostly owner occupied, but
And can you tell me anything about the sale in 2008?
I would guess I don't know. One thing that I can suggest though about 2008 in my research about the gas farm industry is that the economic forecast of gasoline sales in 2008 was starkly different from after about 2012 or so. I was looking at the long-range economic forecast of the petroleum sales, and that's actually in 2008. It's interesting. That's when I know this is sort of anecdotal, but in the United States, that's when Exxon got rid of all their retail gas bars for some of the reasons that I was mentioning, but they were just too risky as a retail endeavor. So 2008 seems to be some kind of a bellwether. So I'm not totally surprised that there's a sale there, but I would be guessing as to the details. I don't really include it.
I'm going to go into the assumption that neither party is interested in summation, but if you are, please let me know.
Just at the final.
At the end of the docket, because these properties apply to it, so at the end, do a final summation.
Wonderful. Yeah.
Very good. Okay. Moving on, 1560 Taylor, when you're ready, Mr. Assessor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. File number 19-3752, roll number 120628602000. The address is 1560 Taylor Ave. With a car wash. It was built in 1986, zoning R1M, land area 29,679 square feet. Leasable area 8,006 square feet. Recommendation is to confirm the assessed value. Turning to page 2, please, is an overhead view of the location on Taylor. It's kind of a triangle lot. Page 3 has some more exterior views. You can see it is a car wash. Turning to page 4 is the income stream breakdown. We have a leasable area shown of 8,006 square feet. The rent is $8.45, model driven. Vacancies at 2%, expenses at 2%, and cap rate at 6.55%. This gets us to the assessed value of $981,000. Turning to page 6 are the same comparables used in the previous briefs. So on the right column we can see our car wash comparables again. I won't go over them. We can look at those for reference. I believe we are right on the mark as the subject has a model-driven rent of $8.45, and that is my brief. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Story, questions for the assessor?
Yes, I do. Thank you very much. Now, for this property, we've not gone to land only. We've gone with going concern business value. Is that correct?
That's right.
But the rent is lower here than the overall net rent for the previous property. Is that correct? That we went to land only on?
I believe so.
It was 1286 or something.
Okay.
Yeah. But they're very similar, aren't they? Irregular shape, backing onto a rail line.
Yeah, in terms of those two criteria, I believe so. The rent is a little bit different.
Okay. I want to point that out. Okay. Now, are you aware that this building had a major fire sometime in 2018?
I do not.
Okay. Have you looked at photos of this property or visited it?
Just what we have on the computer.
Okay, so you can't necessarily speak to the current physical conditions, is that correct?
No. When in 2018 was it?
You know what? I'm not sure. I saw a news article and then I actually saw a video that was substantial.
It might be post-reference. Is that what you're saying?
It might be, but the present physical condition is that this building had a fire. So we're talking about present physical condition.
Okay.
Okay. Would you say that this building has poor access and egress based on these photos that you provided?
It seems to be all right on Taylor there.
Okay.
It's an irregular shaped lot, but I think the access is all right.
It has one access point, right?
Yes.
Your page 3.
I believe so.
Okay, that's fine. Now the rent is modeled at $8.45, so that's fine. Now, let's see. Do you have any idea what the assessment was in the last cycle?
I don't have it on me.
Okay. All right, that's fine. And just to be clear, this is just a standalone car wash, no gas, no convenience
That's
store.
correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Those are my questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Anderson?
I have no questions.
No questions.
I have no questions. Thank you. Mr. Story?
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so we're on Taylor. We have a standalone car wash. It's 1560 Taylor, to be clear. Year built is 1986. Freestanding structure, currently configured as a car wash, masonry wall building. 86, the City of Winnipeg Property Taxation Department has a current planned gross floor area of approximately 8,006 square feet with a 12-foot wall height. It's in irregular shape. It's 29,679 square feet with R1M residential zoning. And again, there was a fire in 2018, and I believe upon review from the desktop, the present physical condition would be considered objectively below average. So we have an actual lease in place, so we use the actual rent. Now it's $7.78, so we're not too far off from the model rent of $8.45. I talked a little bit about rents in the market for car washes, and this shows us a standalone car wash is leased out at $7.78. So for the purpose of this report, we're not disputing the city's 2% vacancy. We are not disputing the shortfall rate of $4.50 per square foot. We continue to apply the non-recoverable expenses. And in terms of the cap rate, based on the age of this asset, based on some of the attributes that we've pointed to, the irregular size, the backing onto a rail line, we've applied a cap rate of 7%. I think that's more appropriate. And that leads us to a resulting market value of $800,000. It should be $801,000. So again, we respectfully submit the 2020 realty assessment should not exceed $801,000. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Glinsky, questions for the applicant?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Story, so no comparables for car washes?
No, we have a rent in place, so we don't have to model a market rent. The very definition of market value is what a prudent purchaser would pay and what a prudent vendor would accept at the reference date, neither under any duress and both motivated similarly, self-motivated similarly. So the rent is the rent, and that would be the best indication of the market rent for that property is the rent that somebody's actually agreed to pay and the rent that somebody's agreed to accept. So we use the actual.
Okay. So in your appraisal experience, do you think that just one rent gives you the whole market?
Well, what we're doing here is just to be very clear, the purpose of this exercise today is to perform a site-specific analysis of the subject properties. So I'm not modeling this, I'm not doing a mass appraisal approach. I understand that the city has to, in order to capture the entire assessment goal. It would be impossible to do a site-specific analysis of each property, but the benefit of of these hearings is that we're able to, and we're mandated to do a site-specific analysis. So I think that the best way to do that clearly is to look at the actual rents in place and look at some of the actual challenges facing these assets and look at them on a site-specific basis. So that's what I've done. That's the purpose of the exercise. That's why we're all here today. So.
Thank you. Would you agree that sometimes just looking at one contract rent, we don't always know what the motivation is behind that contract? Is it truly market, or is there other conditions involved that's not reported?
Are you suggesting that somebody else would pay more for this? I would suggest that this is probably, to your point, that's interesting. Now, if somebody has been in this establishment for a number of years, they might be paying a rent that's higher than market because it would behoove them to stay versus to find a new place to go.
That's my point. Looking at one contract rent might not give you market or valuation, appropriate valuation.
We're looking at an appropriate valuation for this specific site. So in terms of figuring out what the market rent is, when we have an owner-occupied building with these car washes, and we'll see a number of them today, we do go with the market rent. But we don't need to when we have an active lease in place. So the rent is this is the rent for this building. That's the economic reality.
Thank you. No further questions.
Thank you. Ms. Anderson.
Just a clarification, please. On your page 7, under capitalization rate, in the narrative says 6.75, but then on your page 8, it says 7.
That's a typo. That's my mistake.
7, that is the number?
7 is the number, yeah.
Thank you. That's it, thank you.
Ms. Nesbitt.
I have a question too on page 7 under market rent narrative.
Okay.
The last sentence says, this rate was agreed upon by Altus and the city in the 2018 cycle.
That's correct.
So are you suggesting that rates from the 2018 should just continue into 2020? I'm just asking, I'm not
No,
sure.
I'm just saying that in the last cycle, that was the rate that was in place, and the city and we both agreed on it and provided that for context. So we've not been generally fighting about the rate. I think and we're not too far apart on the value either. This effectively comes down to a cap rate question and
the
a non-recoverable.
5%.
Yeah.
Okay. And just to kind of know what that meant.
Absolutely,
And
yeah.
its relation to 2020.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
So you say that there's an in-place rent of $7.78. Where are you getting that from? I'm looking at your IME attachment here. All I see is an internal with a holding company. On the last page.
Yeah. I'm sorry, what do you mean by internal with the holding company?
It says we start internal and the tenant's name is BV 1560 Holdings.
Okay.
So owner occupied is ticked off. So
okay.
is this an internal book rent that's just been applied?
Oh, you know what? I think no. I'm sorry. I misspoke. It would be owner occupied then, and we've used the rate that we agreed upon last cycle. That would make sense. Yeah.
So this is a book rent?
It would appear to be. Yeah. I think that might be the case.
So we're not using any evidence for your valuation?
As Mr. Cesar. That's
Yeah. Okay, no, but we can see that that's the rate that we agreed upon, and that's the rate that's been in place for some time. So I apologize, I really did misspeak.
okay. And you mentioned there's a fire in 2018,
Yes.
and then rightly so, you said that we're using present physical condition.
Correct.
Is it not currently operating?
It's operating, but the exterior of the building is in poor condition.
It hasn't been repaired?
Well, I'm sure it's been repaired to some degree. It has to be operational, but it is in poor condition. I should have more photos to show you, but it's a sort of a corrugated steel siding type building, and it's got all kinds of patches on it. And it looks like there's graffiti and whatnot. So it's not in average condition. It's in poor condition.
Okay. And in your questioning, I think you intimated that this is similar to 2737 Pembina, you said. You were saying in configuration, so you're saying that this triangular shaped lot on Taylor
Right.
is similar
Well, it's
to a trapezoid on Pembina Island?
No, I'm saying that I'm just asking about how we're looking at highest and best use. The rents here are low. It backs onto a rail line. I was just drawing the comparison to the two. I think that the property on Pembina is superior to be certain, but I'm trying to get a handle on why sometimes the model or the assessment department goes to land only when there is a going concern business value. So that was just to illustrate that earlier point.
All right, thank you. Next, we'll deal with 3357 Pembina. When you're ready, Mr. Sester, can you please?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. File number 19-4083, roll number 030916608000. The address is 3357 Pembina Highway. We have another Red River Co-op, zoning C3, land area 94,438, leasable area to be 5572 square feet. Our recommendation is to change the assessed value to $2,756,000. This recommendation is again based on a correction to the depreciation table for our tanks, canopies, and pumps as per page 8. Turning back to page 3, please. Overhead view of the subject, its location in the city. And going on page 3 is an exterior view of this co-op. We can see the car wash is on the left. Its store kiosk is in the back part of the picture through the canopy and pumps. Turning to page 4, some more exterior photos. As we've gone over, co-ops are typically the more superior fit and finish for gas stations. As we can see in our pictures and valuations. Turning to page 5 is the income stream breakdown for the store, kiosk, and pumps portion of our valuation. Modeled rent comes in at $33.36, vacancy at 2%, expenses at 2%, and cap rate at 6.15%. And turning to page 6 is the vehicle car wash breakdown. Modeled rent comes in at $9.18, vacancy at 2%, expenses at 2%, and overall capitalization rate at 5.4%. We went over page 8. That is the breakdown. We've seen it a few times with the other briefs. I won't go too much into it. Just briefly, the yellow areas are what's being added to this income stream. So this new valuation is $798,000. Page 9 is the same comparables I've been using. Refer to the 2 right columns, please, for both the skip portion and the VCW portion. I believe the subject is well within the range of these valuations, and that is my brief thing.
Thank you. Mr. Story, questions for the assessor?
Yeah, thank you very much. Okay. Now, from the last cycle to this cycle, we're looking at an 18.5% increase. Is that typical of gas stations in the city?
I'm not sure.
Okay. All right. So, no, sorry. You said something interesting. You said that the co-ops have the highest grade of finishings of gas stations. Is that?
In my opinion, fit and finish typically.
Okay. Okay. That's fine. Now, okay, photos. Again, the cap rate is modeled
Yes, it is.
for the SKP.
Yes, it is.
The rent is modeled.
Yes, it is.
The vacancy rate is modeled.
Yes.
And the expense ratio is modeled.
Yes.
And you haven't done any adjustments based on the site-specific analysis. You've just accepted the model's output.
Yes.
Okay. Car wash, same questions. Everything modeled.
Yes.
Every single input is modeled. Right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I'll ask you. You mentioned this, but does it make logical sense to you that the cap rate on the SKP would be the same as the car wash, or would be different from the car wash? Does it not make sense that they would be the same?
We do our cap rates based on type of building. So a car wash will have cap rate, a kiosk will have cap rate.
Okay, and that's indicative. Do you think the model is capturing market behavior when it does that?
I believe so, yeah.
You think so? So when somebody was to go to purchase a gas station asset, they would take the 2 different income streams and they would apply different discount or cap rates to them?
Well, I don't know the specifics of what the model does. I guess there would be more of an assumption.
Okay, is it safe to say then, that this is one economic unit, right? The car wash and the SKP, that comprises one economic unit. It's not divisible. You can't pay for a car wash at the car wash. You have to go into the kiosk to pay for your car wash.
Yes.
Right? Okay, so it's one economic unit. Now, is it not market behavior to take the main holdings cap rate and to apply it to the entirety of the economic unit. The main holding being the SKP.
The way we value buildings typically is this way.
Okay. Now, just a question. You had asked you, but you have checked the other files to ensure that the depreciation rate has carried through. And is that what the error was? That's why we're seeing some of these adjustments. The depreciation from Marshall and Swift didn't carry through from the cycle.
Yeah, so it wasn't updated at the time of when the assessments went out.
Right.
And then by the time we went to build the brief, the updates went through.
Okay, because there is one in here that I think may have been missed. We'll talk about it when we get to it. Now, page 8, when we're looking at these chattels or fixtures, whatever you want to call them, these tanks, basically, tanks, canopies, and pumps, how does the city determine what each gas bar in the city has in terms of their tanks, canopies, and these elements?
I believe it's done by inspections and permits.
Permits, okay, that makes sense. So I just want to clarify. Okay, I think those are my questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Anderson?
I have no questions, thank you.
Senator?
No questions.
Just a couple while we're on page 8, can you explain the second one, fuel pump, electric plus 3 product, quantity 10, units 8? What does that mean?
So I believe this would refer to the actual pump you put in your car.
Right.
So I'm not sure exactly how we have it broken down, but I believe there's 3 regular premium diesel. In terms of the 3 plus, the quantity.
I'm just wondering why the quantity and the units are different.
Yeah, that's a good question, and I don't have the perfect
Okay.
explanation.
Okay, fine. And then on page 7, you do an income value summary. So is it safe to assume that the capitalization rate of 5.99 is the blended one?
Yes. So we'll assign a cap rate to each, and then it shows a blended rate to get a overall blended value.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Story, when you're ready, please.
Yes, thanks. Okay. 3357 Common Highway, as you noted, this is the co-op station, built in 2008. It's the southwest corner of Cumberland and Granmont. Best described as a gas station, convenience store, and car wash. Now the convenience store is 2,957 square feet, 13-foot wall heights, and then a separate 2,600 square foot touchless car wash with a 13-foot wall height at the south end of the site. We're going to say this is irregular in shape. It's 94,438 square feet, and it's got C3 commercial zoning. Now, the city is suggesting an increase of 18.5% over last year, and we're saying that's inappropriate. The city is saying 2,821,000, but that was, sorry, there's a change there to 2,756,000. So when I adjust my value by the same amount to account for the cost replacement adjustment, I come to a value of $2,143,000. Okay, so again, we've used the income approach. The city is applying a modeled rate of $33.36 per square foot, and then we've looked at the market again. We have our table that is in most of our briefs here that are relevant. We've agreed that our actual average and median are lower than what this the market for this asset might be. So we've applied a rate of $28 per square foot, and then for the car wash we've used $8.37. Now that was the rate that we agreed upon in the last cycle. We're saying there's no economic change from last cycle in terms of the value of the car wash. We have to put a value on it that falls within the range that seems appropriate. we've capitalized the vacancy into perpetuity with a 5% allowance. The shortfall rate is $6 per square foot. And again, we continue to apply the non-recoverable and structural reserve fee, 7%, as an erosion to the income stream that amounts from the competent management of the asset. Now, we are using a cap rate of 6.75%, and again, we are not blending our cap rate. We are using the same cap rate for the SKP portion as well as the VCW, as we believe they comprise one economic unit. So with all those factors taken into consideration, we come to a value, now again adjusted downwards for the depreciation correction of $2,143,000. We respectfully submit that ought to be the value for the 2020 assessment cycle. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Galinsky, questions for the applicant?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Story, just referring to your third last page with the tenant verification form, I noticed that there's 2 kiosks on site, or actually, I guess I'm looking for explanation on the Horizon storage sheds. Do you know much about?
Oh, yeah. When you go to a co-op occasionally, there's a fellow who's trying to sell storage sheds. Have you seen those?
Now that I'm thinking about it, I think so.
Yeah, there's one right by my house.
Okay, yeah.
So that's a month-to-month type thing.
Okay.
So it's not capitalized into value. Sometimes you'll see within a parking lot somebody's doing glass repair or something.
Right. That was my other question.
It's that type of thing. Yeah.
So Boardroom windshield kiosk is there as well.
Oh, they do have one. There you go. So that's where the guy sits under the little tent and
Right.
fixes dings in your windshield or whatever. So that would be extra income. They're reporting it, but that would not be capitalized into perpetuity. That's sort of a one-off type deal, I would imagine. And it is month to month, I believe it says, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's not weeks.
The kiosk is at least, but the storage sheds is monthly.
Okay.
So I guess my second part of this question is, would you agree that having the ability to house these kiosks adds overall value to the property?
I would say it's nominal in terms of the assessable value of this asset. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. No further questions.
Thank you. Ms. Anderson?
Just a curiosity question. So this nominal income is on this form, but it's not shown up in the other income in your workup, or?
No, that would be sort of atypical. I don't think it's not an income stream that we would capitalize into perpetuity. That would distort the market value of this asset, I would say.
I mean, really, $190 per month? Wow.
Well,
Thank you. That's it.
I have no question.
I think you explained that you're treating it as one economic unit.
absolutely, yes.
So that's why your shortfall on the car wash would be the same as the shortfall on the
Well, I know that.
kiosk?
Well, it should be. The issue with capitalizing the shortfall for gas stations, and why it's particularly difficult, is because the property taxes alone are higher than what we can model in a reasonable way. So it's the high end of what we tend to apply. We think the city's too low, but the shortfall is an interesting point when it comes to gas stations. We've got common area and maintenance, and then property taxes. That's effectively how we determine what the shortfall might be, and then as a function of vacancy. But the property taxes alone are higher than what we're generally applying to our valuation. So I think we're quite low on shortfall, actually.
Okay, thank you. We are going to break at some point. Is it appropriate now? Does anyone need a break, or should we continue on for another couple of properties?
I'm good with that.
Is it okay to carry on?
This one would be the halfway point after this one. This would be the fifth. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good
Coming
point.
up, yeah.
Okay, let's do that. Let's deal with one more then. 3451 Pembina. Alrighty, Mr. Assessor, will give your evidence, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. File number 19-4084, roll number 0303-1660200. The address is 3451 Pembina Highway. We have a vehicle service related garage. Zoning C3. Land area 39,082 square feet, leasable area 3,500 square feet. Recommendation is to change the assessed value to $812,000. Turning to page 3, please, is an exterior view of the subject. So you can see it's vehicle service related, 2 garage doors there, and entrance. The bottom of page 3 is its location, Ducharme and Pembina Highway, corner of. Turning to page 4 is the income stream breakdown. So the change to this assessed value is based on changing the rent from $15.56 to $13.93. So this will get us to a new valuation to I guess I don't have the specifics, I just have the breakdown. So it'll change the overall from $878,000 to $812. So that's just based on that one change. Everything else stays the same. Vacancy at 4, expenses at 2, cap rate at 5.55. And then the retail portion of this valuation, 1766. Vacancy at 6%, expenses at 2, and cap rate at 6.9. Turning to page 7 is the justification for the new square foot rate. So as we can see here, we have a really good sample of vehicle service garages within the city. The average at the bottom of the chart is at $13.93, and that's what I'm going to go with for the valuation for the vehicle service garage portion. And then there's a retail space within the building. We have some comparables here. We're staying with the same model rent. These retail comps are to give some backing to our model retail rent of $17.66. And that is my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Story, question?
Okay. Again, are you familiar with this neighborhood?
Just slightly.
So you're aware of the condition of the surrounding properties, the condition of this property?
Yeah.
You say it's objectively poor quality of the buildings, the subject and the surrounding buildings. There's some development going on to the north, but this is the most optimistic way to describe this as a neighborhood in transition. Is that correct?
I believe it's a little bit lower quality. It's a decent area, gets a lot of exposure from Pembina Highway.
Okay. Now the operation you have here is best described as an auto sales and service. So they sell used cars and then they have a garage where they fix cars as well.
I agree with that.
Okay. Now you've got 2 premises here. I count 1. So can you tell me where the second premises is?
I'm not sure of the floor layout. That's how we have it. Our leasable area in total is 3,500. And then we break that down as 2,400 for the VSG portion and 1,100 for the retail portion.
Okay, what you're calling retail, now if we just think about how a sales and service operation ought to work, take our car there, we walk into the office, we tell the person what's wrong, and then they say, this is where you sign a work order, this is what the estimate is. So it's not really a retail space, is it?
It wouldn't be your typical retail, like you're trying to buy a smaller item. It's more of your car retail.
Like just a waiting room, probably. That's where you talk to the person and take your car in. Okay, so it's not, they're not selling anything there. This is where they process the order. So what I'm getting at is this is one economic unit. It's probably inappropriate to say that a portion of this is retail, is it not?
This is typically how we'll value properties like this.
Okay. But if somebody were purchasing this property, they wouldn't say there's two premises. They'd say there's one building, and it's a vehicle service building, wouldn't they? Auto garage.
Yeah, I don't know if you could say a tenant could be in the retail and then a tenant could be in the vehicle service garage. It's kind of...
You got your car fixed, it'd be hard to...
Exactly.
pay the guy, right?
It's used in the same space, but...
But it's safe to say it's probably one premise. That's fine. I don't need to belabor it. We've got one operator and one rent, right? So it's not, we don't have two different operations. Okay. You list a wall height of 12 to 16 feet. This appears like it's got one wall height. So does the model maybe not capture the reality of this property? Is it safe to say?
I'm not sure why it's not or it should be more specific. I guess it falls within that range.
Okay. And it's stick frame construction, Class D, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So the cap rate again, that's modeled, correct?
Yes.
And it's based on, that's based on, it starts from retail and then we presumably adjust for vehicle service, is that correct?
I believe so.
You're not sure?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Now again, income stream 2 is retail, but we'll talk about that in a moment. But you do have a 6.9 cap on the office portion. So if I'm hearing you right throughout these hearings, you're saying that the way that you model it is 6.9 on the retail and 5.5 on the garage. But that's just how the model reacts, but that's maybe not how a purchaser might react to this property. Is that correct?
Yeah, I would suggest a purchaser would look at it as a blended rate as per page 6. So we have our VSG cap rate, we have a retail cap rate, but in the long story and the long short of it, it's 5.94%.
So you are using one rate, but you're getting there by blending two.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. Now, in terms of your comps, have you? I'm guessing you haven't inspected all 41 of them, have you?
I have not.
Okay. Have you looked into any of them?
I know some of them from experience, but
me too. You've got my mechanics on here, so I
yeah,
very well. Yeah. Would you say that these are generally a higher quality than our subject?
Well, we have some lower rents, $7 range, and we have some $20 range. So
okay, I'll suggest that I'm very familiar with the agglomeration of vehicle services at 2140 McPhillips. That's there's an old Perkins there, and then there's a Boyd Auto Body. There's a Speedy Glass. There's Extreme Performances down there. Those would all be superior, but you're showing rents of as low as like $8.75. Correct?
yes.
Okay. Okay, that's fine. Now this is particularly interesting to me. Page 8. Now this is. Did you choose these, or are these model driven?
These are chosen.
You chose these?
We have a comparable chart of retail.
So you have like automatically generated comps, and then you choose which ones you think are the best fit. Is that how it works?
Yeah. So for this particular case, we have a retail auto kind of chart that I just included to. So it's basically a general idea of the whole market.
So comp 9, that's a Marshalls and a HomeSense. Are you aware of that?
No.
Okay. And it opened in August of 19. Are you aware of that? I live around the corner from that store. It's a vacant, it's part of a vacant Safeway, I believe, for many years.
Was it, but at the time of this lease, I'm not sure if it was Marshall's yet.
It's Marshalls and Home Sense. It hadn't been anything since 2011 or something like that. There's an old Future Shop. There's a Yisk that used to be a Chapters, a Safeway,
Yeah.
Home Depot. Okay. So would you say that a brand new Marshalls and Home Sense is comparable to our subject?
No.
Okay. And same question with comps 8, 23, 24, 25, and 27. That's Seasons of Tuxedo. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay,
So,
that's- yeah.
just to clarify, the top portion of my chart is retail.
Yeah.
The bottom portion is auto retail, so the
Sure.
bottom four comparables is where I want to put the most weight.
Okay, but I have to ask because you did submit this into evidence,
Right.
and I'm just suggesting that these aren't comparable. Now, I also know Comp 28 very well. That's Main Street and Anderson Avenue, North Main. It's the brand new MPI building, or reasonably new, I should say. I guess it's 4 years old.
Yes.
Okay. Now, are you aware that that building also has a huge basement that would be considered leasable? So your net rate is actually probably inappropriate on that one. Are you aware of that?
I wasn't aware of the basement, but it sounds right.
And 2537, is that a Subaru dealership?
I'm not too sure, I don't have that on me.
Is it a dealership though, do you know?
I believe so.
Okay,
I'm
so
not
that
sure which one.
Right, but it would be, it's not a used car lot with a mechanic. It would be a different quality of tenant and therefore a much higher rent.
I think it's more of a superior.
It's superior.
Yeah.
Okay. Those are my questions, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Anderson?
I have no questions, thank you.
Nothing.
Ms. Nestor, no? So, I'm a little confused here. It is just one building?
Yes.
One building that's totals 3,500 square feet.
That's correct.
So the retail comps on page 8, they're all significantly larger than their 1,100 square foot retail, right?
That's correct.
You weren't able to find anything that was,
There's not a whole lot of comparables. I would refer to the bottom part of the chart, comparables 28 to 31 for more accurate comparables.
although they're still like
They're
10
still high,
10
yeah.
times the size.
Yeah.
10 times the size. Right. Okay, thank you. Mr. Story?
Yes, thank you very much. Just another quick point, the city's saying the actual year built is 1995, it's 1959. Perhaps that's a clerical error, so it's clearly an older asset. Okay, so we are at 3451 Pembina Highway, again, built in 1959. One building, one story. It's an auto service and repair shop. And they believe they sell some repaired cars on the lot, that's my understanding. 3,500 square feet. The city is suggesting a value of $878,000. We're saying that's inappropriate. We initially came to $590,000, but we have accepted the downward adjustment based on the replacement cost or depreciated replacement cost that the city has provided. So we are now asking for $524,000. Again, this is an older vehicle service shop, stick frame construction, built in '59, corner of Pembina and Ducharme. So we have a current planned and gross floor area of 1,100 square feet with 12-foot wall heights. There's not a 16-foot wall height here. But the city is saying that, yeah, see, this is where we're getting confused, that the city is saying that the wall heights are different, but it's okay, so on the income approach, we're using a rentable area of 3,500 square feet. If you go to my page 8, you can see that KMC Automotive has been month to month since 2014. Market rent per annum is 49,200, which equates to a net contract rent per square foot of $14.06 per square foot. It is arm's length, and so with that knowledge, we've applied that rate as the total per square foot overall gross potential rent. We're accepting the model vacancy rate, the shortfall rate, 450, and on the vehicle side, it's 650. On the retail side, it's not disputed. It's modeled. We're accepting it. It seems somewhat reasonable. Now, again, though, it's an older building. It's a poor location. The quality of the actual asset is below what we'll call average, and based on the fact that the economic reality is a month-to-month tenant for 5 years now, we're applying a cap rate of 7.25%. So, with all those factors taken into consideration, and with the new change to the downward adjustment, we are seeking a value for the 2020 assessment cycle of $524,000. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Dolinsky, questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Story, just referring to your page 8, you're okay with the rent in place at 1406?
The rent in place at 1406 is the economic reality of this asset and is most appropriate to use for site-specific analysis of this asset, yes.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Ms. Anderson?
I do, just a little clarification here. Your page 3 overhead picture shows 2 buildings within the perimeter boundaries. And then, again, if you look at further, I think it's
Page 4.
next page is in your appendix, page 12. Again, there's 2 buildings there, but there seems to be a fence in the middle. Can you clarify
No, we're looking at this building. This is the building.
That's the one I live in the neighborhood, so that's the one I'm familiar
That's the
with.
one.
But that little one that's off to the side there on the right.
That's a different property. That's
Okay, but on your page 4, the boundary of the property goes all the way to include that. Is that?
I'm not sure why that is, but that's the property that we're discussing is the service garage.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Because that seems odd. It's not a 12-foot height. That building is not a 12-foot ceiling height either.
Yeah, I don't know. There's something. Well,
Those are truck bay doors, so they can't be
Yes.
12 feet. So.
no, they should be. Yeah. Well, some of those older. Yeah, it should be higher. I agree. I don't know. At first, I was thinking that maybe it had something to do with the fact that it's a peaked roof.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Yeah.
I'm sorry, that was it, just for clarification on the actual building we're talking about here, that's all. Thank you.
Ms. Nesbitt?
So just to be clear, I'm looking at your page 9. You're requesting a total assessment of 524?
524. It was originally 590, but that's accepting the adjustment. We don't have in there, but the assessor changed from it's a $66,000 downward adjustment, so we are applying that as well.
You're basically accepting at a minimum that adjustment. And you're requesting more than that, right?
I'm sorry?
I'm just trying to understand.
No. When the assessor uses an adjustment, we're saying, okay, they're using Marshall and Swift. That's industry standard. That's a depreciated value. So when there's a correction to that, we're accepting the correction. We're not generally arguing the Marshall and Swift depreciation calculation.
I don't see any
May I-
adjustments here.
May I interject?
Please.
That the new rate is based on the comparables. It's not a Marshall.
Oh, it's not a Marshall Swift. Okay, then I
It
will.
was a rent of
I'm sorry.
$13.93.
Oh, it's a change in the rent. Okay, and we're higher on the rent, so that's fine. We're using the rent in place. So we will, my apologies, we will say at 590. I went through these last night and I looked at all the downward adjustments. I thought it was a depreciation. Yeah, 590 is.
Okay, and just again for clarification, in your narrative at the top of page 9, You conclude a capitalization rate of 6.75 in your
Yeah, it should be
table.
7.25.
Okay, thank you.
Could you elaborate on that 7.25, please?
That's based on condition, age, and I suppose the economic reality of having a month-to-month tenant. That's not, to have a month-to-month tenant for 5 years would give me pause as an investor. So when we look at the cap rate, we tend to look at 3 different elements: the durability of the income stream, if we think that income stream will maintain over the economic life of the asset. We look at principle of substitution. If you had a different asset that you could invest in, would this give you more or less risk? And basically, the cap rate is the numerical expression of risk. So when we look at this, when we look at all the factors facing this property, the age, the location, the month-to-month tenancy, the relatively low rent compared to the market, would that give us a sense of uneasiness or a sense of confidence? I think that reasonably you could say that this would give us a sense of general uneasiness for some of these factors, and so we would adjust accordingly. So 7.25 seems reasonable.
Thank you. Yes.
You're using the same square foot rent for both the service garage and the retail portion?
Yes, it's one rent.
One
it's
economic
1406. So, and again, even though the rent that the assessors provided would be lower, we maintain the same methodology. So even if it's not in our best interest, we're very important. Yeah.
Thank you. At this point, we will take that break. It's 2:44 now. Let's limit it to 10 minutes, if we can, please. Okay, I will call the hearing back to order. Next property we will deal with is 3086 Pembina. Are you ready, Mr. Assessor? What's your evidence, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. File number 19-2654, roll number 0304022500, address is 3086 Pembina Highway. We have a Shell gas station, zoning C3, land area 160,127, leasable area 3,377 square feet. Recommendation is to confirm the assessed value. Turning to page 3, we have an overhead view of the subject and the site. As we can see, there is quite a bit of extra excess land from the top picture. Bottom picture on page 3 is an exterior view of the subject. As you can see, in the back portion on the left, there's a car wash. Right portion is the kiosk and pumps in the middle. Turning to page 4, some more exterior views on the top portion, and the bottom picture is the excess land. Turning to page 5 is the vehicle car wash valuation. The modeled rent is at $8.91, vacancy at 2%, expenses at 2%, and cap rate at 5.55. Page 6, we have the SKP portion, store, kiosk, and pump. Modeled rent at $31.64, vacancy at 2%, expenses at 2%, and cap rate at 6.3%. Highlighted in yellow is the additional land value at $2,021,000, and the pumps portion, canopy and tanks at $311,000. Turning to page 8 is the breakdown for the detached structures. As you can see, it's what's added to the income stream adds up to $311,000. The bottom portion of page 8 has the net rates for the land at $21. $2,237.04. Turning to page 9 is the same comparables used in previous briefs. Please refer to the two right columns for the SKP and BCW comparable rents. And then the bottom of page 9 has the land sale comparables. 4 comparables near the subject property. You can see here we have, these are the same ones used previously, 992, 1116, and then 4875, and our newest sale at 2525 Pemina at $67.04. And that is my brief. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Story, questions for the assessor?
Yeah, I do. Thank you very much. Okay. Now this is, so these city assessors are work within the parameters of the IAAO standards, is that correct?
Yes, we work within them. We don't necessarily have to follow them.
You're not bound by the standards of the IAAO?
I don't believe so.
Oh, okay, probably works like, okay, that's fine. My question is, when there's an increase year over year that is above a certain threshold, the IAAO standards require the city assessor to perform a site-specific review. Is that not correct?
I'm not sure.
Okay. I asked because this assessment from the last cycle to this cycle, there's a 26% increase. Are you aware of that?
Yeah, I reviewed everything. It sounds about right.
A 26% increase?
I don't have it on me. I don't remember.
Okay. It just seems excessive from our perspective. I just wanted to point that out. Okay. Now, I guess we're talking about vacant land here, but again, the rent for the car wash is modeled.
That's correct.
Vacancy modeled.
Yes.
Expenses are modeled.
Yes.
Cap rates modeled.
Yes.
And so the estimated value is modeled.
That's correct.
Everything's modeled. Okay. Now, I mentioned earlier that that some of the adjustments you've corrected them, but what I'm concerned about is this: in the last assessment cycle, the additional building value was $237,000. So if this is depreciating, then how is that value appreciated from cycle over cycle?
I can't speak to what the valuation was in 2018. I don't have that on me.
Well, not about the valuation, just about the depreciation rate, because you mentioned you checked them, but I'm just concerned because I went back into your file, the VAR files, which had your brief in it in the last cycle, and the additional building value was $237,000. So just logically, you can't have a depreciating asset that's rising in value, can you?
Just to back up, maybe I misunderstood, but our valuation for the pumps portion and whatnot is Marshall and Swift driven.
Right, but and you've done that for a bunch of these, and some of them were errors, right?
Right.
You've adjusted them. I'm suggesting there may be an error with this one because it seems inappropriate that it would be higher than last cycle. Shouldn't it?
I checked, there doesn't appear to be any errors now. It should be 311.
All right, I won't belabor that point, but just so you're aware, I do use 237 in my brief, but it should even be likely a bit lower because we should be depreciating from the last cycle. The reference date is 2 years off. Okay, so now, again, we're using a blended cap. We've talked about that. I won't belabor that point. Now, in terms of the land valuation, you're saying 60% of land. Is that arbitrary, or how did you come to that figure of 60%?
That is what we'll typically do for excess land, 60%.
Okay, so how much of that land is developable?
I'm not sure.
Okay. And is there any, would that require a zoning change or any sort of, what are the costs associated with potentially marketing and developing that land and bringing it to a state that's development ready?
I'm not sure.
So, is that based on discretion, or is that, I'm just trying to figure out how we got to 60%.
I believe it's a practice used within our department for the 60%. I can't speak too much more to it, I'm not sure.
And we're suggesting that the net rate per square foot, if it were developable, would be $21 per square foot, is that correct?
Yes.
And how did we arrive at that value?
So this would be the land value of $3,369,000 divided by the net area.
Right, I understand that. To get to that value first, we have to use the multiplier of 21 to 1. So that's based on the land sales comps, is it not? Yeah. And your land sales comps go anywhere from $10 to $67 or $9.92 to $67, correct?
Yeah, so I took all the sales that occurred in this area.
Okay. And is that an average, or how did we get to that number? How did we get to 2104?
That would be our model-driven land value divided by the square foot.
And so how many inputs were in that model?
I'm not sure.
Okay. So, did you choose these land sales comps yourself?
I did, yes.
Okay, and you picked them, I'm going to guess, based on location?
Yes, so these are all the sales that occurred in this location for this time frame.
Okay, and again, these two on Pembina, I believe it's the second last one, that's right by the university, correct?
Yes.
So is it safe to say that the ones that sold for $48.75 and $67.04, they were sold based on a development opportunity for their condos or rental housing or something, multifamily res, we'll say. Is that correct? Which would explain why they're driving such a high rate.
It's likely, yes.
Okay. Do you have any sales data or anything to back up that sales rate, or that's just from your system?
That's all I have.
Okay, so V comp, so really we should only be looking at the first three, I'm guessing. Maybe that's how you came to 21, because if you look at the 11, 48, and 9, just doing some quick math, that probably would get us to 20. But if we have sales for 9 and 11, does it not seem like our subject is more comparable to the first two sales than it is to the last two?
I believe all these sales should be considered.
You don't think these last two are extraordinarily high, potentially skewing the rate?
Sale is a sale, so it occurred, and that's been reported.
Sales, okay. That's fine. All right. Those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Anderson?
I have no questions.
Ms. Nisbet?
And I have no questions.
The additional land, 60%, that seems strange. Is it done on, like, carving it out and saying, okay, that's 60%? It's not developed, or?
Yeah, from my experience from dealing with excess land, I believe we typically always use 60%. I don't know the justification, but that's how we got it.
You always use 60%. I'm confused. It's 60% of the total area that you're considering excess, correct?
Yes.
So if it's covering half, you're not going to use 60%, right? If the improvement's covering half the site.
Okay, sorry, yeah, I'll back up. I'm not sure exactly what the percentage of the excess is. This is what the model driven for this particular, or our system did for this particular property.
Because if I look at your page 3, the overhead looks like 60% is probably everything that's not developed, right?
Yes. I shouldn't say that we always use 60%. We use 60% for this particular property always.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Story?
Yes, thank you. Okay. 3086 Pembina Highway. And again, we're a Shell station built in 2008. We've got 3.7 acres of land with a plan area of 3,337 square feet. Now, the city is suggesting an increase in the value of this property over the last cycle of 26%. I'm going to suggest that the value ought to be $2,848,000. Now, we're not disputing the fact that there is developable land, but the rate and how it was arrived at seems peculiar. It seems fairly high. It seems fairly high, and I believe it's based on those two inputs of $48 and $67 a square foot. So, again, gas station, convenience store, car wash. Looks like they were originally constructed in the 1990s, 1990s to be specific. 2,030 square foot convenience store, 11-foot wall heights, and 1,347 foot car wash with a 14-foot 14-foot wall height. The subject is somewhat irregular in shape, and it's 160,127 square feet with C2 commercial zoning. The land to the south of the Shell station, which is not currently in use, is considered excess rather than surplus, as it is believed possible to separate it and the land. So now, when we're talking about the in-place value, I've mentioned this a number of times, we're using the market rent of $21.76 per square foot. Which gives us a total gross potential rent on a net basis of $73,500 or $21.76 per square foot again. We're not disputing the vacancy rate of 2%. Okay, that's fine. The shortfall rate is $650 per square foot, and again, we continue to apply the 5% management non-recoverable fee as well as the 2% other or structural reserve fee. So the assessor is using a capitalization rate of 5.75. We believe that gas bars, as we've seen today, at a minimum ought to carry a cap rate of 6.25 to 7 or higher if they're older, poorer locations. So we've used the cap rate of 6.75%. And I apologize, there is an error here. It says 7.5 in my narrative. We have applied 6.75. Okay. Now, in terms of the excess land, I've provided a number of vacant land sales that I think are reasonably comparable. And the average of those sales is $12.80 with a median sale of $11.81. So we would suggest a value of no more than $13 per square foot for developable land. And I can tell you that that's a rate that I've used for a number of vacant commercial lands in the city, and that appears to be, that's been accepted by the board. So we're saying $13 per square foot, so the total adjustment will be $1,510,000 plus $237,000 for the depreciated cost of the tanks. Now, I haven't accepted the new depreciated cost because it doesn't make logical sense to me that it would be higher than it was last cycle. It should in fact be lower, but without that information, we're accepting the last adjustment of $237,000. So the total adjustment with those 2 points considered is $1,747,000. Again, bringing us to an indicated market rate at the reference point of $2,848,000. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Dolinsky, questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Story, just wondering why you chose not to use any comparables for car wash or SK2 portion of the valuation?
Sorry. Because we have a lease, so yeah, again, we've mentioned this a number of times, we use market rent when we're owner occupied, when we have a lease, we use the actual lease.
Okay, thank you. So there's no relation between the lessee and
Sorry?
there's no relation between the tenant and the owner?
Not that I'm aware of. Are you suggesting that that it's not arm's length?
I'm just asking.
No. No, that would be arm's length.
Okay, thank you. No further questions.
Thank you. Ms. Anderson?
Just a question about how you arrived at the $13 per
Sure.
square foot.
Yep.
First of all, how did you arrive at that number again? And then I want, in your narrative on page 9, a little farther down, it says, given the subject property's location near the South Perimeter Highway, we would suggest a value of not more than what? I wonder what the logic is behind that locational criteria impeding the value of the land.
Oh, it's not impeding it. It's based on these comps. So these comps are in and around. Basically, what I would say is that 70 Bison is a very good sale. It's very comparable. And again, that's Bison and Pembina that was purchased to develop a large, I think it's either the student housing or a condo. But that would be, I'm not saying that this is low quality land. I'm saying this land is good. We have 70 Bison selling for $12.46, 50 Bison selling for $17.63. Now that's, I would say that it's superior based on its proximity to the university versus our subject. So with all those points considered, coming to an average of $12.80, and I apologize, I don't have that marked here, I usually do, but it's $12.80 on the average. The median is $11.81. Given that sale, a bit older, but definitely a sale that was done for the purposes of development, we're looking at $13 per square foot. That seemed reasonable, so that's how we came to that. We also, there's some question about how how developable this site is. We're sort of it's not modeling it, but we're using our best judgment to come to a land rate. So we think the 21 is too high, and if you actually take the assessor's two highest comps out, he's in between 9 and 11, so 13 makes sense. It all seems to hang together.
Okay, thank you very much. That's it.
Thank you. Elizabeth?
Okay, so some of these comparables are not in the area.
No, this is it's a bit of a task to find vacant land
Of this
sales.
size.
Yeah, it's
Of this size. So you used the actual 116,127.
yeah, and I
Stating that the area leased by Shell, which I know was in our IE 44,000. So rather than reverting to a percent, you just use the actual.
Yeah.
Right?
And we're really leaning on those first two sales because they're indicative of that area, but they also come with they're superior to be certain, and I don't know when they were purchased, what stage they were at in terms of plans and drainage.
And why do you say they're superior?
Because they're right at the corner of Bison and Pembina, so that's desirable land for multifamily res.
Yes. You don't think this would be superior or good?
No, I think it's
location
good.
to-
I absolutely think it's good. I think it's a great location. But I'm saying that in terms of vacant commercial land, a large plot of land on the corner of Bison and Pembina is desirable given the proximity to the university.
Okay, thank you.
You said your 237 was based on
Those last years.
Last year's.
Yeah.
Do you not have access to the Marshall and Swift valuation?
We do, but it's
you didn't go through the exercise of
Well,
doing the calculations?
No, because we've generally not contested the assessor's adjustments. So, but in this case, because there were corrections, we did take a closer look. But you're right. I should be doing Marshall and Swift myself to ensure that they're correct. But generally, we've accepted the depreciation rate. On some level, we have a bit of an issue in terms of how we look at the pumps and whatnot. From an appraisal standpoint, appraisal theory says that those are chattels and might not be counted in terms of the value because they are removed; they're not permanent structures. And there is increased risk, not less so now than there has been in the past in terms of soil remediation and things of that nature, but it is something of a point of contention to put a value on the appreciated value of the what I'll call chattels. But I understand that we do have to do it, and the city has to do it for the purposes of these assessments, so we've generally accepted them. But I did notice that this was that this depreciated value was higher than last cycle, and that raised an alarm for me.
Okay. And your potential rent of $81,994, that's the actual lease?
That's
the bad lease?
Yeah, that's the bad lease.
So how did you determine the SKP and BCW? Did you just take a percentage?
In order to get the
Well, you've got a breakdown of 49,288
right.
and 32,705.
Well, that's based on the actual lease in place. So that's the rate applied to those two different square footages. So,
But the lease in place isn't broken down, isn't it? It's just a pad lease? The 82,000?
yeah. Hold on one moment. Just want to double check something. Yeah, it's the same rate, just it comes to 24.27 or 24.28, and we've applied that rate to both. So it's a lease that covers the entirety of the site, so we don't put a different value on the car wash. We're treating it as one economic unit.
So, can I just
Yes, you have
clarify
follow-up,
something?
yes.
You said the actual was what, 24?
It's 24.28. Yeah.
Okay, so
And that's the rate applied to the entirety of the.
on your page 8,
Yeah.
it might just be from, you might have used the previous presentation, just updated it right in the middle.
Yeah, that's
Gross
what it is.
potential
Yeah.
rent, net base is
Yeah.
73.5, so it doesn't match to your table.
So, my apologies. I think this is probably a speed error trying to get these done on
So what is the actual, 24?
24.28. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to 1681 Grant. When you're ready, Mr. Assessor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. File number 19-4074, roll number 120616300000. The address is 1681 Grant Avenue. Another co-op gas station. Zoning C1, land area 12,000 square feet, leasable area 1,189 square feet. Recommendation is to confirm the assessed value. Turning to page 3, we have an overhead exterior view of the subject. As you can see, it's only the pumps and canopies, tanks portion with a convenience store. Bottom of page 3 is its location at the corner of Lindsay and Grant Avenue. Page 4 has the income stream breakdown. The modeled rent is $34.89, vacancy at 2%, expenses at 2%, and cap rate at 6.3%. Page 6 has the comparables we've seen here in the past. Just for this particular property, we just need to look at the second column from the right, where it says SKP net rents. In terms of our valuation and our comparables, I feel we are in line. And page 7 is what's highlighted in yellow is what has been added to the income stream. The total is $329,000, and that is my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Story, questions?
Yes. Okay. Excuse me. Now again, this is an increase of 22%. Are you aware of that?
I'm not aware.
Okay. Did you look into the history of this property at all?
Typically, I probably did, yeah.
Okay, so are you aware that this used to be a turbo gas many years ago?
No, I did not know.
Okay, so then are you aware that this is on the impacted and contaminated sites list in Manitoba?
No.
Okay. Would that affect the value?
Typically, it probably would.
Yeah, it would it likely, does the model have a way of capturing, adjusting for impacted sites?
I don't believe so, but from what I know, I think most gas stations are have the potential of being an impacted site.
But it's mostly, okay, put you finding point on this, but once we go back before, say, 1990 or so, the technology of the gas tanks were different, right? It, double fiberglass walls, bladders, leak sensors. The new tanks are not leaking. It's the older ones that are an issue. So when we have older gas bars, that's when we tend to see contamination issues. Like none of the other properties on this docket have contamination issues, but this one does.
Okay, I was not aware.
All right. So with that being said, it would likely be most appropriate to adjust the cap rate to capture that risk, would you say?
It's possible that could be done. I don't have that in front of me.
But it's likely that if this property were to sell, then the remediation would be up to the owner, and that could be incredibly expensive, right? To remediate that soil to the point where you could develop it for multiple uses, you'd have to remediate it to a clean site.
I'm not sure on the price, but possibly.
And this was built in '58. Again, that was and then used as a gas bore. You got an effective year built in 1979. So is that age adjustment based on the fact that the co-op was built on the site, or how does the city apply age variances? How did we come to an effective age of 79?
Yeah, so this would be done with permits and inspections. I don't have the specifics on why it's 1979,
Okay.
but it's obviously a newer fit and finish than 1958.
Okay. Now, when it comes to your model, how does the model defer to the actual year built or the effective year built when it's applying its model to rents, vacancy, shortfall, and cap?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Okay, and just to be clear, it is wood frame construction, Class D, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and all right. Now, outdoor parking at 0. Is that just something that the city does for? I think there's clearly space for cars to park at gas stations. There.
Yeah. So outside of downtown areas, we don't count cars.
Oh, okay, fair enough. That's raising an interesting question. Do the gas stations generally, would you agree that they're not a terribly economic use of land? They require a huge amount of space for their small operation. You got people lining up, coming in and out, and turn radiuses. Just occurs to me that maybe it's not an economical use of land in general. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, like as we can see with all these gas stations on our docket, that some are huge, some are small.
Okay, that's fair.
Is it huge?
Just compared to regular retail, it's an
Yeah, it's
amount of
typically
land.
more.
Yeah. Okay. Now you're using $34.89 as a rent on this property. How did you arrive at that?
That is model driven.
And okay, so when the model kicked that out, did you review the model and deem all of these outputs and inputs to be reasonable, or did you check them, or?
Yeah, so I believe they're reasonable based on our comparables chart on page 6.
But this would be a fairly higher than most of the other properties we've talked about. It's probably not superior. Do you agree?
I would say it's on the lower end of the other co-ops we've looked at, for sure.
So the model cap rate is 6.3%, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, what I don't understand is if we end up with a premium, what I'll call a premium, I think it's one of the more reasonable cap rates that we're seeing today for gas bars, but if it comes up to a higher cap rate, is that rental rate independent of, are these all independent variables? Does the model not recognize that some of these variables would likely be functions of one another?
I'm not sure how it's related. My suggestion for the cap rate that's a little bit higher is because it's an older gas station compared to
Based on age?
the other ones. Yeah.
Okay. And again, the impact of things not being captured. Now, even if you could put that into your system, would the model be able to capture that? Would it provide some sort of adjustment? If the model was aware that this was an impacted, contaminated site, would it be able to adjust the cap rate, or would that just be a note on the file? How would that be dealt with?
I don't have the answer. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's okay. Now, the total adjustment, $329,000, you check that to make sure that that's appropriate?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. There's something else here I want to ask you about. No, that's okay. I assume that the broker studies that you have here for cap rates, where would this fall? I'm guessing, if you call this investment grade, now would this be like regional retail? Community, neighborhood? Or is this just something that you just include in all of the briefs of this asset class?
Yeah, this comes with our briefs.
Okay. No, that's fair. Okay, those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Was
I
that
have no questions.
No,
Ms. Sussman? Nothing for you? I have nothing. Thank you. Please, Mr. Story.
Thank you very much. Okay. So this is a regular co-op at the corner of Grant and Lindsay Street. It was originally built in 1958. The city is suggesting an age variance of 1979. The city is also suggesting a indicated market value of $981,000 based on modeling. We have done a site-specific analysis and come to a value of $801,000. Okay, so now we've used the infill approach. So to begin with, we've used the rentable area of 1,189 square feet. That's the same as the city. Now, the city is using, I alluded to this, a market rent of $34.89. I'm suggesting that that's far too high for an asset of this vintage and quality. So based on our, as I've mentioned, the study that we've provided, we come in somewhere between 21 and 23. And I've mentioned a number of times that's just a barometer for the market. This is, I believe this is the lowest rate we've applied for this docket. We've used $22 per square foot. We are going to continue to apply a 5% vacancy allowance to capitalize the vacancy into perpetuity, and the shortfall rate is $6 per square foot. Again, we continue to apply our 5% non-recoverable fee with a 2% structural erosion of the income. And for the purposes of this report, we're disputing the 6.3%, and based on the fact that this property does show up on the Manitoba Conservation and Stewardship's contaminated and impacted site, we're applying a rate of 7.75 to capture that inherent risk. That, so that with all of these points taken together, we come to a value, oops, oh, I'm sorry, I gave you the wrong value to begin with. We actually come to a value of $623,000, and that's on page 9. You can see the workup, 801, I think I modeled that on a different brief. Anyways, we are suggesting a value of $623,000 to capture the site-specific issues with this property. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Kowalski, questions?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So was the current owner, did they know that this site was on the impacted list when they purchased?
I'm not sure. Now, that owner, it probably wouldn't make a material difference to them because they're in the business of selling gasoline. So, but if you were to look at the larger market and the value of this property and how, when you talk about cap rate again, we're talking about how do these factors, how would they be interpreted by the market? Well, if you have a property that's impacted or contaminated, the uncertainty about what it would take to restore that back for any other purpose would be greater. So there's a huge risk with contaminated and impacted sites, and they're fairly rare now. The list is not super long. We've got a lot of gas stations here, and we've only seen one. So I would suggest that an increase to the cap rate, also based on the year built of this property, is appropriate.
Okay, thank you. So this list is as of May 2012?
What's that?
I'm just referring to your front page of the Manitoba contaminated list.
Yeah.
It says as of May 2012 at the bottom.
What page are you on?
I don't remember what page number.
Maybe it is instead of
Oh, the appendices?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
2 pages into the appendix.
Right, so that's, I don't know how often they update the compacted list. I know that they, no, I don't know, yeah. Are you suggesting that it's not impacted anymore?
No, I'm just wondering the time frame. You're saying you're saying that this chart is all of the properties that are on the impacted list. I'm just wondering what the time frame is for this. And your page suggests that it's as of May 2012.
This is, so I took this off the site myself.
Okay.
I took this off for the purposes of developing this brief for this hearing. So, can you clarify what you're asking? Like why does it say as of May 2012?
So this chart here,
Yeah.
this is all the contaminated.
No, this is just the page that this is on. This is clearly just the.
Okay.
sites
So this
that
is
started
as of
with C.
2018, please?
This is current, yeah.
This is
on-
current?
This is
Okay.
current, absolutely.
Would you agree that there are other possible contaminated properties associated with gas that are not on this list?
Would I say that there are other contaminated properties that are not on this list?
Yes.
Well, I don't know. I mean, all I can say is that these are the confirmed contaminated or impacted sites.
Right.
And you can see that a lot of these former Canadian turbo sites are impacted.
Okay. If I may,
Yeah.
I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth, but this is an excerpt from
An extra, yes.
the list, and this is an alphabetical listing,
Yes.
so this is merely whatever shows up on that page, is that
Right,
correct?
that's correct. Yeah.
The actual document is
huge.
pages
Yeah.
thick, and,
Yeah.
right?
It's a larger document than this, but for the sake of
Right, so-
environmental friendliness, I wasn't going to put the entire.
Exactly, and so your question to him,
Is it possible that there are more properties that are contaminated that did make this list?
Okay, are there properties that are contaminated that didn't make the list?
From what I guess my point is that it's kind of almost common knowledge that most gas stations are possibly contaminated.
No, I don't think that's true.
No.
I think older gas stations, I mentioned earlier that the technology of the tanks has changed substantially. I'm not an expert in the tanks and the different types, but you can see even on your Marshall and Swift depreciated cost analysis, you can see that there's double-walled fiberglass tanks. I know now they have leak sensors in the newer tanks, but gas stations from anywhere from the turn of the 20th century to maybe the 50s, 60s, I don't know. But all I can tell you is I would be guessing, I'd be speculating, but I can tell you that this site is certainly on the list.
Okay. All right. Thank you. No further questions.
thank you. Ms. Anderson,
I have no questions.
Ms. Nesbitt?
I actually had the same kind of questions,
Yeah.
the contaminated list,
Sure.
because this, as of May 2012, is very
Yeah.
misleading in that you'd read it.
I didn't write that
I
on there.
know.
That's just how
I
the
know,
stewardship puts it out.
I know. And so.
It may be like the census.
It is
Where you print the
confusing,
census
though.
and it says as of 12 or 14 or whatever the
Right.
case may be. They may only update it every so often. There may not have been a change to that list since 2012. I don't know. I know what's that?
Which is possible.
It's possible, yeah.
It is possible. So that was also my question, and, without seeing the URLs at the bottom of the, when you print it out from the website.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of difficult to know.
Well, I can tell you that I went on the site, I printed it off for this report.
Yeah, I believe
And
you.
that's- yeah.
I believe you, but it is,
That's a
it
good
is
point.
misleading.
Yeah, I'm not sure why that is. It would be nice
Yeah.
if they actually kind of,
Dated their list,
yeah.
and maybe it is on page 1 of the
Maybe.
list.
Yeah,
This is
it
not
might be.
page 1 of the list.
No.
This is page
again,
something.
I don't know, I'm not
Right.
sure. I just did a control F search for the, because
Right.
it pops up when you Google search the address.
Mm-hmm.
You say, oh, contaminated, and then you go to the list, and it's, and as Mr. Chair said, the list is it's sizable, so, and it includes all of Manitoba. It's not just
Yes, it
Manitoba,
does,
so,
yeah. And it's listed here under Canadian Turbo,
Yeah.
despite the fact that it's Red River.
It was
Co-op.
the former use was a Canadian
So
turbo gas
the
bar.
contaminated site registration is against Turbo?
Well, it's not against anyone, it's just it runs with the property until the property
It
is
does.
remediated, yeah.
Yeah, but it's listed as Canadian Turbo.
I think that's.
So has it run with Red River Co-op
Um,
when it's listed under Canadian Turbo?
Okay,
It's
so-
just a question.
Yeah, no,
I don't know.
when I've dealt with contaminated properties before, it's, for example, I have a warehouse that I've done work on,
Mm-hmm.
and it's on the list, but under an operating in the
Completely different name.
1950s.
I
Yeah.
see.
Yeah, I think it's the original, I think what they do is they list the original contaminator. I think that's the rationale, that's how I've always understood it.
Mhm, okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
And I'm assuming that you've checked all the other properties that we're dealing with today, and none of them are on this
They're
list.
not on that list.
The premium that you've applied for the contamination, is that quarter point, half point? What is your
well-
opinion on that?
It's a good question. That would be discretionary. It would be maybe 50 basis points, maybe it's 7 1/4 reasonably for the, say, smaller gas bar. It's older. It's not, I would suggest that the quality is lower than the other ones we're looking at today. So if we're, and I know too that this is based on what we've done in the past, so we are holding true to that. And so as far as what the initial adjustment was, I think I would say it's probably in the realm of 50 basis points, and that's likely done on discretion, best judgment.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to 1216 grant. Are you ready? We'll hear from you, please, Mr. Assistant.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. File number 19-3276, roll number 120140721100. 1216 Grant Avenue is the location. We have Petro-Canada, C4 zoning, land area is 37,783, leaseable area is 3,788 square feet. Recommendation is to confirm the assessed value. Turning to page 3, we have an overhead view. Subject on the right side of the photo is the car wash. The middle of the photo is the convenience store portion, and the pumps are located under the canopy. And the bottom of page 3 is its location in the city. Page 4 has the income stream breakdown for the car wash. The modeled rent comes in at $10.44. Vacancy at 2%, expenses at 2%, cap rate at 5.4%. Page 5 has the income stream breakdown for the store, kiosk, and pump portions. Modeled rent is at $37.56. Vacancy at 2%, expenses at 2%, cap rate at 6.15. And we have the additional building value at $451,000. Turning to page 8 is the what's added to the income stream that makes up this $451,000 as previously mentioned. As we can see, it's highlighted in yellow. Same story as the previous briefs. And then page 7 is the comparables. Same comparables. I won't go over them too much. Just please refer to the 2 red columns for the SKP and BCW portions. As we can see, the subject falls well into these ranges. And that is my brief. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions of Mr. Story?
Sure. Okay. Again, we're seeing a 17% increase, but I'm going to guess that you don't have a sense of how gas bars have increased or decreased over Q1 16 to Q1 18? Or do you have a sense of, is it appropriate that gas bars, we're seeing increases of 20, 30%? Does that not seem extraordinary high to you?
In terms of what data we've received, in terms of sales, valuation, rents, that's what.
But it would likely be a function of the cap rates being extraordinarily low. So it's not really a sale data. It's a modeling issue, correct?
Yes, that's what our model is.
Yeah, the model's saying that the cap rates are in the 5.5 range, which seems extremely low for a business like this. But okay. Now the actual year built is 94, and you have the effective year built as 2004. Now, why is that? Has there been something that's been done to extend the useful economic life of this property?
I don't know the specifics on what was done, but typically how these effective years change is by upgrades, permits, inspections.
Okay, but we also know that what I'm calling the chattels, the pumps and whatnot, they're depreciating, but somehow the effective life is appreciating. Doesn't that seem out of sorts?
I'm not sure exactly why the effective year has changed.
And now this is a petrochem, right?
Yes.
And so they're bound by the branding agreements. They have to have a certain type of canopy. When that architectural brand changes, they have to keep up with that. So that's actually a cost to them. It doesn't necessarily extend the useful economic life. It's a compliance issue with being a franchisee of a restaurant or something like that, isn't it?
I would agree with that.
That's
typically when you do an upgrade, it will extend the life.
Right, but an upgrade from the gas bar perspective would be changing those tanks or something like that, not adjusting the plastic moldings on the canopy.
If you're suggesting it's only cosmetic, I think it was, yes, cosmetic, but also upgrading.
But you have permits for the depreciated value of the tanks, so if those were being changed, then we would see that, right? I would say that would extend the useful economic life of the gas station. We've said that over time the technology for the gas tanks becomes better and better, and it prevents needing remediation and contamination and things of that nature. But if the useful economic life, we've said earlier, you illustrated to us that the way that it's done is there's a permit taken out, and then there's usually a site visit by a field officer or valuation officer or something like that, and they make a judgment call about what the effective age ought to be, correct?
Yeah.
But it's subjective. It's based on that person's opinion.
Typically, yes.
Okay, but the way that the model interprets that is that the effective life has been expanded, and now the inputs that are kicked out that form the valuation are altered, correct?
Yeah, more or less.
Okay, so that's an issue with modeling. Okay, the car wash. Again, all of these are modeled using the different cap rate, but then we blend it. That's how we're approaching this.
Yes.
Okay. Again, right. You've got a rank of 3756. Does that not strike you as? Does that not raise a red flag? And that came out of the model.
In terms of our comparables on page 7, I feel like $37 valuation is low.
Okay, but you do have income and expense questions from the owner, correct?
Yes.
And did you check those to see if that model grade is appropriate versus what they're paying?
typically don't just look at what the rent in place is, we'll look at the whole market.
Okay, but when you see a rent of $37 per square foot, that's one of the higher rents that we've seen today. Do you not say, well, hold on, that raises a red flag to me, let's check that against the actual? Or do you just generally accept the model?
We'll look. Like I said, we take the whole market, so it falls within the range of our market that we deem it to be a good assessment.
And to be clear, would you agree that the purpose of this exercise is to conduct a site-specific assessment of these properties that we're looking at today?
Yes.
Okay, those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Anderson?
I have no questions.
Ms. Nesbitt? So page 10 of your brief. This is part of the return that you received from the owner, is that correct?
Yes.
And the subject property, 2 from the bottom?
Yes.
And that's the rent that they pay, that's an actual lease in place?
Yes.
Is this one of the ones that you've used as a comparison in previous briefs? I'm just asking, I don't know.
I don't believe so.
No? Thank you. Mr. Story, here from you, please.
Okay. All right, so 1216 Grant. We are at the corner of Nathaniel and Grant in the city of Winnipeg, and we have a gas station with a convenience store and car wash. The improvements were built in 94 and 2004. The C-store is 2,330 square feet, and the car wash is 1,458 square feet. The subject size is regular, and it's 37,783 square feet with a C4 commercial zoning. So again, we've used the income approach. Now, the operator has a lease in place that is a renewal, and it covers the entirety of the property. So the net contract rent is $20.27 per square foot, and this is a blended rate that captures the gas bar and the kiosk as well as the car wash. So we've used a rate of $20.27 for the entirety of the property for the purposes of this valuation. We are accepting the 2% vacancy in perpetuity. The shortfall rates, we are not disputing. I believe. No, we're not. The non-recoverable expenses, we are continuing to apply the 7% of effective market rent to represent the erosion of the income stream for the prudent and competent management of the asset. And for the cap rate, we are using 6.5% across the entire asset. So with all those points taken into consideration, the current assessment is $2,081,000. We are suggesting that the market value of the subject property at April 1 of 18 is $1,419,000. And we respectfully submit that the 2020 realty assessment should not exceed $1,419,000. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Dlansky, questions?
I have no questions, thank you.
Ms. Anderson, questions?
I have no questions.
Ms. Nesbitt?
I have no questions.
I'm just a little confused on the return here.
Yeah.
I don't know what page that is, it's
Yeah.
somewhere in here,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
anyway,
Yeah.
you highlighted a subject property. And you've got
That's
BOM square foot.
fair. Is that my brief?
Your brief, yeah.
Sorry.
I don't know, somewhere in the middle.
Sorry. Apologize for not numbering this as a mad dash to get these things done this time of year. Let me just see. Sorry. And
It's what you've written on.
Okay. And what is the question?
Question here is, they're showing an area of 6,660 square feet.
Yes, you know what, I don't know this is the owner's reporting, so it's not part of this, I do not know, I think it's speculating as to how it works. We're using the parameters set forth by the assessment department. It's my understanding that that's the rentable area we've traditionally used, so I'm not sure.
There's quite a difference between 6,660 square feet of 1952 and what you've said, 3788 at $20.
Sorry, 3788, that's the assessor's?
Well, I thought you said that's what you were using was the assessors.
Oh, no.
Planner.
Oh, in terms of the square footage?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I'm not sure, again, that's the owner's calculation, I'm not sure, I would be guessing, I don't know, I can't speak to that necessarily.
But you've said in the past that there's an actual lease in place, that's what you're going to use.
Yes, the lease in place indicates to us that the owner is paying across the entirety of the property, I believe it's $20.27 per square foot, and that's what we use.
I thought I saw 135,000.
Oh, is that in the assessor's brief, the highlighted?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what's included there. I don't know if there's, again, I don't know what the, yeah, I'm not sure in terms of that, what I know is that our records say that the rate is $20.27 for the entirety of the property.
Yeah, it's actually not just the assessors, it's in your brief too.
No, it's submitted by the owner, but I don't know what that all entails.
So, I'm sorry,
I'm not sure
I'm
if
still
that's
not, I'm still not
Yeah.
following how you're getting your rate of $22. So what you said, $22?
2027, yeah.
How did you determine that?
Okay. So we have, okay, so in 17 we had a base rent of 1952. That's on their submission. Maybe, I wonder if there's some portion of the land lease here that I'm not aware of. I don't know. And I know that there's a renewal in January of 18.
Right, that's to the 135 from the 125
Yeah.
previously.
I'm not sure, I'd have to look into it, I can tell you something off the top of my head here, please.
Weirdly, if you divide that 135 by the 2027, you get the 6,660. I'm not sure how that comes into play.
Okay, right, so if you look at the rent roll, you end up with that base rent of 1952. And that's at April 17th. Yeah, I'm not sure. Just know that our records say 2027 across the entirety of the property.
Thank you. Okay, 1034 Beaver Hill. When you're ready,
Thank
me please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Okay, so file number 19-4770, roll number 06-007-666-800. The address is 1034 Beaver Hill Boulevard. Zoning of C3, land area 27,108, leasable area 6,948 square feet. Our recommendation is to confirm the assessed value. Have a car wash with gas. Turning to page 3, we have an overhead view of the exterior of the property. And the bottom of page 3 is the location of the subject in the city. Turning to page 4 is the income stream breakdown for the vehicle car wash. The modeled rent in place is $8.33, vacancy at 2%, expenses at 2%, and cap rates at 6.55%. We have an additional building value of $233,000. An estimated value for this car wash portion is at $942,000. Page 5. Income stream breakdown for the store kiosk pumps. Modeled rent is at $35.19. Vacancy at 2%, expenses at 2%, and cap rate is 6.3%. And then page 6 has the estimated market value with all of these income streams put together. It arrives at our assessed value of $1,519,000. Page 7 has the comparables for the SKP portion and VCW portion. We went over in detail through these comps, so I won't speak too much to them. And then page 8 has what has been added to the income stream in terms of the additional building value. Highlighted in yellow is what was added, totals $233,000. And that is my brief. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Story, questions?
Yes, thank you. Okay, so this is a almost 20% increase over the last cycle, is that correct?
I don't have 18's value.
Now, when I look at the actual year built and the effective year built, they're both 1988, so would that give us reason to believe that no substantial work has been done to the structure to extend its useful economic life?
I would agree.
Okay, and what do you suppose, or what does the city see as the useful economic life of a gas station?
I'm not sure.
Would it be 30 years?
It's possible.
So this building, without any work, is, say, it's reasonably getting close to the end of its useful economic life. Is that true? Would you say?
It's possible. Our cap rate's a little bit higher to reflect its age.
Right. Okay, so speaking of cap rates, correct me if I'm wrong, but sometimes the cap rate on the SKP stream is higher than the car wash, and sometimes vice versa. Is that correct?
Yeah. I think it's.
So can you give us a sense of how the model does it try and justify? Does it ever kind of recognize that maybe the SKP ought to have a higher cap rate than the car wash? Does that make sense to you? That's where all the risk is in the business, right?
I guess it depends site specifically on how each building is, its condition and how its performance.
So the rent at 8.3, that's, I don't think we're necessarily arguing that. That seems about right. We agreed early on that somewhere between $7 and $10, whatever, 8.5 is reasonable. Okay, but just to reiterate, all of these inputs are modeled, correct?
Yes.
Okay, now does the rent not seem extraordinarily high for an asset of this vintage? This is getting up there with the newer product that we're looking at. Does that not seem odd?
I believe the explanation for the rent is the smaller leasable area.
So it's a question of economies of scale.
It's possible, yeah.
Okay. All right. And you've checked the Marshall and Swift to make sure it's appropriate?
Yes.
And the property was owner occupied at the reference date?
As reported, yes.
Okay, so February of 18, so owner occupied, the reference date being April, which is a point of clarity, but, okay, that's good, thank you very much.
Ms. Anderson?
I have no questions.
Ms. Brisbane? Thank you. Have you been to this property?
I have not.
Mr. Story, more from you, please.
Very much. Okay. So, we're at 1034 Beaver Boulevard. This is an Esso station in the car wash is known as Mississippi Jack's. The plan area is 6,948 square feet. Site size is 27,108 square feet. And we have a C-store with a 15-foot wall height and a 1,080 square foot leasable area, and a larger wand wash, 5,868 square feet with a 13-foot height wall height. And then zone C3 as a commercial. Okay. So we are using the info approach. We're using a total rentable area of 6,948 square feet. The city is using $35.19 per square foot for the gas bar retail convenience store, and they've applied a rate of $8.33 for car wash portion. Now, we're not disputing the car wash, 833. Again, that's sort of in our range. We're okay with that. What we are disputing, however, is the $35.19. Now, this was owner occupied until February of 18. So we looked at our comparables, and this is sort of, seen this number up there, but today $28 per square foot. This is reasonable. So we applied that for market, maybe a bit high given the age of the subject. That's what we're using. We've capitalized the vacancy into perpetuity at 2%. The shortfall may be $6 per square foot. Again, we continue to apply an allowance of 7%. Now the cap rate is an issue. There's an edit that I made once I submitted. It's 6.75, so please disregard the total line there. We've applied 6.75 to both income streams. We've accepted the assessor's adjustment for the depreciated costs of the canopies, tanks, and pumps. So with our income value of $906,045, with the adjustment of $233,000, we come to an indicated market value of $1,295,800. Rounded to $1,292,000. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Dorsey, questions?
I have no questions.
Ms. Anderson?
I'm just checking them out. Can you give me a minute?
I'm doing the same. Yeah.
So, I'm sorry, so you said it was owner occupied?
At February of 18, yeah, so we used market to, market rents.
So it was sold in February 28th, so what was sold, the business?
That I'm not sure, but I don't have the details of the sale.
This is a pad lease, is it not?
I believe so. I don't know what the details of the sales are, of the sale is. I don't think I have a sale.
Because, yeah, it's, if you look on the back,
Yeah.
25th, April 25th, 2016 is Latco, and it's a Southdale land lease at 35 Lakewood.
Right, so it may have been a,
Would that be this, no, I'm sorry, 1034 Beaver Hill there,
Yeah.
neighbor's car wash.
yeah, they may have sold the business component, I'm not sure. So we're valuing the going concern value of the business, so I'm not sure about the details of the sale or what that all included.
So it would have to be, I'm seeing a lease of 63.33 per month, but this is for 16, right? It expires in 17. Was there a renewal, do you know?
There may have been a holdover. I know that it was owner occupied until February of 18. So it's close enough to the reference that we use the market parameters.
But it's the building that was owner occupied, but they're actually leasing it. It is a land lease, correct?
I think so. I don't know all the details of those mechanics. I'm not sure.
Because this would be comparable to the one that we just dealt with at Grant Park, would it not?
Well, it's a fair bit older, but
But it's the
in
same.
terms of the
I'm talking
yeah,
land lease.
yeah. In mathematics, it sums this way. There's an issue here, I believe.
Yeah.
So there's-
Yes, yeah, the total NOI is wrong, the
Right.
capitalization rate is wrong.
Right.
And then the income value is wrong. But
Right.
once you sort that all out and add the adjustment in, you get to the number that
Yes,
I asked
yes,
for. So
yeah. I saw that too. I saw it last night.
Well,
We got there.
we got
So
there.
that will cover any questions that you would have had?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Okay. We'll deal with the final item on our docket today. Just 971 Google. Are you ready, Mr. Assessor?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. File number 19-3219, roll number 0605121800. The address is 971 Dugal Road. Another vehicle service related business, zoning M2, land area 86,748, leasable area 2,914 square feet. Recommendation is to confirm the assessed value. Turn to page 2, there's a picture of the subject property, overhead view. You can see a lot of the space here is utilized by larger trucks and trailers. Page 3 has more pictures of the subject. Turning to page 4 is the income stream breakdown. We have a modeled rent of $12.88, vacancy at 4%, expenses at 2%, cap rate at 6.05%. This gets us to the assessed value of $575,000. Turning to page 6 is 41 comparables, VSG. Same chart used in previous briefs. City average is $13.93. Our subject falls in the range of these comparables. That is my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Story, questions for the
Yes, thank you
assessor?
very much. Okay, so we can best describe this as a more of an industrial property. So,
I would agree with that.
yeah. Now, so we've got a large, it's about a 2-acre parcel on Dougal Road. It's a sort of dirt and gravel space where we store trucks, right? Vehicles and that sort of thing, kind of scattered, kind of that type of scenario.
Yeah, it's Jade Transport.
Right.
Trucking.
So it's a cartage trucking yard. Okay, so it's built in '59, effective year is '59. Now that improvement, you can't really see them in your photos, but have you taken a look at that building?
I have not been to this.
Okay. All right. So you don't have a sense of the present physical condition?
No, I do not.
No basement on this property. And one improvement built in 1959. And, okay, that's fine. Now, you note here that it sold for $275,000 in 2002.
Yes.
Okay. And presumably most of the value here would be in the land and the ability to, the economic opportunity to be able to, right?
I would agree with that.
Yeah. Okay, so the $12.88, does that not seem extremely high for this type of property on Dougal Road? Maybe not extremely high, but it would be, this would be far higher than what one would expect to be this type of property on Dougal for this purpose, would it not?
Taking the average of my comparables, I feel it falls in the range.
Okay. And, all right. That's fine. Now, and the cap rate, is that, how do we develop the cap rate for a property like this? Do we look at the improvement, site size, how does the model generate that cap rate?
Yeah, I believe all of the above.
Yeah, okay. Okay. But it doesn't consider the general sort of industrial, call this like a light industrial property, basically?
Yeah, so it takes I believe it takes into account the zoning, so it's M2, which is manufacturing industrial area.
Right, okay. That's fine. Now, okay, now we talked about the rent a little bit. Now, this is the same set of rent comps that we used for another property. So it was, I forget which one exactly, but we've established that there's a wide range here. Which of these comps do you suppose is most comparable to our subject?
If we look at the older comps, in the 1950 ranges,
Right.
there's a big range here, but I don't know which one would specifically be the closest to it. I haven't individually investigated each comparable. I would suggest we look at the market as a whole to get a general idea that our model
Right,
correct.
but if we include some of this stuff, like I'm saying, like my mechanic on Phillips, that might be distorted, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that would be obviously the higher end.
Yeah. Okay. But that's $12. So, okay. All right. Now you have two good comps here, I think. Just to be clear, that square footage for the lease, that's for the size of the building that we're talking about?
Yes.
And is there a consideration for the size of the land that we're talking about? Do you have any idea what the land sizes attached to these leases?
I do not.
Okay, because you do have, if I turn your attention to comps 23 and 24, those are pretty good comps. They're right within the vintage of 59 to 65. And 971 and 963, you're using our subject as a comp, aren't you?
That was missed.
Okay, so that's interesting. So the model is saying 12, but the input that's generating the model, our subject, is you got it at 912. So wouldn't that be more closely related to the economic reality of the subject property for the purposes of doing site-specific analysis?
We don't take just one rent in place as the market. Typically, we're looking for what the market is generating.
I think I made my point. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Anderson?
Other questions? Thank you.
Ms. Nesbitt?
I was just looking at the comps as well and had the same question. Thank you.
I still have a question about it. It's 971 Google, and it shows a lease from 2015 for 5 years, so 2020.
Yeah.
But are there returns showing that that's an actual lease? The Jade Transport?
Yeah, so referring to page 9, we can see that if you do the calculation of the monthly rents, times it by 12 months, divided by leased area, yeah, we'll get to 912.
You will?
Yeah.
But it's your contention that 971 Google rent is not indicative of the market, the actual rent in place?
Yeah, so we don't do our assessments based on just one rent in place. We take a modeled rent from the whole market.
No, I understand that, but when you look at comparable 23, which is just down the street, maybe even next door, I don't know, roughly the same size at 876, would that not give you some sort of indication that maybe in this area it's like a $9 rent is more applicable? No?
It's possible that.
But there's nothing here that's compelling enough for you to suggest the rent should be other than what the model draws?
Yeah, I believe we're close.
Thank you. And I guess my other question, do you know what they're doing here? Are they repairing trucks or?
So it's the business called Jade Transport Limited. So I believe they ship goods.
And I guess my question is, why is it a vehicle service related and not an industrial property?
I think they would also fix the trucks there, but I do not know. The real valuation, I think, for the owner to own this property is not the actual building, but the whole plot of land that's needed. So we value the income approach based on this leasable area, but also we need to consider that this land is needed for this type of business, and that's where the real value comes from.
Okay, because it's almost a 30 to 1 land to building.
Yeah.
And is that not more common in a like a trucking business, a transport business, to find something like that rather than a vehicle service?
For sure. That definitely be looked at as a different way to value, for sure.
Okay, and if it were valued differently, there would be different parameters applied and different cap rate.
That's correct.
Right. Thank you. Mr. Story?
Thank you very much. Okay, 971 Dougal Road. Now, just to be clear, this our understanding is that this is an owner-occupied space, but we do believe that the rents on Dougal are in that $8 to $9 range. So we have used a rent of $8.50, which is more reasonable than the assessment department's model $12. So we have now to answer a question that's come up there, this is where they're repairing trucks. This is not a fulfillment center, they're not shipping out of here. This is where Jade Transport repairs their trucks in this older asset built in 1959. Okay. So the city's suggesting a value of $575. We are saying that the value of $440,000 is more reasonable based on the parameters that we've put here based on the income approach. So we can best describe this property as a masonry wall structure currently being used as a sort of a front office and truck repair shop. Again, built in 59. planned gross floor area of 2,914 square feet, and 18-foot tall, 18-foot tall walls. Sorry. The subject site is rectangular in shape with a total site size, according to the City of Winnipeg, of approximately 86,748 square feet, or about 2 acres, with M2 industrial zoning. Got some photos here. You can see now, again, of course, in the transport business, turn radiuses are important, and places to store your trucks are important, so they have that, but the quality of the appears to be dirt and gravel, so it's not paved. It's a small office where small repair shop, a little office where they service their fleet. Okay, now if you come with me to page 7, please, you can see that I've got some other rents here. Now they're in slightly different parts of the city, but we can see that the market for I've got a couple outliers that I'm not particularly happy with, but I think it's okay. We don't have the right quantum, but if I were to go back, I would take number 6 out, which would bring us to about $750 per square foot, which may be low, but I'll stick with my $850. It seems reasonable. And for the purpose of this report, we are using a vacancy rate of 4%, shortfall rate of 450, which I don't believe is disputed at this point. Again, we continue to follow the market and use a 7% erosion to the income stream to account for the prudent management of an asset, 5% going to non-recoverables, 2% going to structural. And we are disputing that cap rate of 6.15 the assessor is using, and we would instead recognize that this is a largely undeveloped site, a very old asset, and we used a cap rate of 7.5%. So with all points considered, we come to an indicated market value of $439,791, and so we request that the 2020 realty assessment should not exceed $440,000. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Galinsky, questions for the applicant?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So referring to your comparables on page 7,
Yep.
I was wondering why you didn't choose to include any comparables that are closer to the subject?
Well, these are the comparables that I had that seemed reasonable. Now, I can speak to them. The number 5 is a collision center on Moray. I'd say that's objectively superior, and that's at 650. We've got Maxim at Lowson, and that's a very good comp. Same business, same sort of utility, and that's at 680. And it's a far superior property, and the zoning is favorable at M3. So I would stand by my rate of $8.50. I think that's that stretch of doodle. That's what people are paying for that sort of light manufacturing. I tend to call that industrial, but I suppose because we're servicing trucks, we call it vehicle service related. But I think that $8.50 is right in the range. So I think that's quite appropriate. Yep.
And you chose not to use the rent in place for this particular?
Well, it appears to be non-arm's length, so.
Oh, I see. Okay, thank you. No further questions.
Thank you. Ms. Anderson?
Can you speak to the cap rate and why you chose that for this property?
Yeah, absolutely. So, again, this is closer to an industrial property. It's the asset that's on it is very old, 1959, so clearly is, I think from the market's perspective, it's likely exceeded its economic useful life. It provides some economic utility to the current owner, but in terms of how the market would see it, that asset in and of itself would have a premium, and the site itself is under improved. So with all those points considered, that seems to be a reasonable cap rate from our perspective.
Thank you. That's it.
I'm looking at your comparables, and you comment on index 1 and 5 maybe being the best. They're substantially bigger.
They are bigger, yeah.
And would that not have an impact on the rent per square foot?
Sure. In terms of the economies of scale, yes, absolutely. but they're also far superior. They're also newer. I mean, Wilson is 1999. Yeah, I think that they're. I'm happy with $8.50, and I mean the assessors using comps on Google that are in and around that $8 to $9 range, and I just from experience of doing valuations out there, I think that's reasonable. So they're not perfect comps by any stretch of the imagination, but I do think they lead us to a reasonable value.
I have another question, but I need to find it. So,
Let me come back to you.
sure.
So I also note that your Lawson
Yeah,
was like January of 11, so that's quite dated.
that's the start of it.
Right.
Runs to, but it, well, yeah, but it does run through the reference period. So.
Yeah. 7 years later.
Yeah.
And the other one, you're talking about the assessor using the ones on Google, but
Yeah.
you're saying that one is the subject and it's a book rent, it's not a arm's length
That's
transaction.
right. Yeah.
I was
But
looking for where he said it here, but yes, he verbally said it.
We have the neighbor there as well, right? At 876.
Right.
So 850. I don't know the details of that, please, but I do know that stretch of Google with the under-approved properties, old office or old kind of assets built on them, $8 to $9 a square foot seems reasonable.
And since you mentioned that neighboring property, that we had that as an example, are you
Yeah.
aware if that's a book rent?
I don't know. That's the assessor's comp. I'm not really sure.
Okay, sure, sorry.
Thank you. Okay, that will bring us to the end of our property, so as promised, I'll give you an opportunity to do a summation for the entire docket. Whatever desire.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Proceed.
So, all of my questions in regards to the gas stations with car washes and pumps and tanks and canopies and convenience stores apply to all of the properties with those. I believe we have strong comparables for these car washes and gas stations and excess land close to the subject. I just want to reiterate that rent in place or contract rent doesn't make a proper valuation for the market. And just to conclude, I want to apologize for speaking out of turn on the first property, and that is my...
No need to do that.
Okay.
That will, that's your summation?
Yes.
Mr. Story,
Thank you very
please.
much. Thanks, and I appreciate listening to our concerns on all these properties today. It's greatly appreciated. Now, what I'd like to leave you with is that I believe that when the model attempts to capture the realities of the gas station business, there are a few subjectivities that maybe don't get captured. I think that the cap rates are preposterously low at some level, where if we're not at least at a 6 1/4 cap, it seems like we're not capturing the high confront, the low margins, and the inherent risks of running a gas station. I can't stress that enough. I think that the cap rates are too low, the rents are clearly too high, and I think that, not to beat a dead horse about this, but the non-recoverables are an essential part of looking at the business value of these assets. And so I think that when we do a site-specific analysis of these properties, we recognize that the model is trying to adjust from a retail perspective to something completely different. So it's absolutely vital that we look at each one of these as a car wash and capture all those realities as opposed to some hybrid form of retail. So that's my summation. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Therefore, that will conclude our hearing today. Thank you both for your presentations. The orders will come out in due course.
Thank you very much.